Today we get a story of probably the cringiest emo kid, and when I say the cringiest, I mean the cringiest emo kid of all time. Leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, and let's call today's subscriber, let's call him Daniel. So anyways, right, one day, Daniel was in the mall with his friends. And Daniel and his friends decide that they want to go into Zoomies, which is it's a store that has like a lot of like skater type clothes. They also like, I used to go in there a little bit, even though I was never kind of like a skater kid. I just like the shirts with the cats with the middle fingers in them. I always thought those shirts were pretty funny, and honestly, I'd probably rock one of those today if I still had some of those shirts with me. But anyways, right, Daniel and his friends, you know, they decide to go into the store, and they're kind of just looking around, browsing the t-shirts, looking if there's anything they want to buy. And Daniel kind of goes towards the back of the store, and towards the back of the store is where there's a bunch of skateboards or whatever, and there's these two kids, and they're like long dark hair. There's like I don't know, a lot of like black eyeshadow and makeup, all black clothing, kind of like dripped out with like skull chains, whatever, dude, just like kind of looking like this guy. So anyways, right, Daniel doesn't like think anything of it. He's like, oh, that's interesting, I guess. Because here's the thing, Daniel doesn't really care how you dress. Daniel doesn't really care how you act. As long as you're like decent to other people, he literally doesn't care if, I don't know, man, like you can do whatever you want. But anyways, Daniel's kind of walking towards the back of the store when he sees one of the two emo kids look at him, go up to him, and hold out their hand, kind of like someone, like, you know, the traffic guards that like go out and hold up their hand to say stop. And the emo kid's like, hey, bro, only emo kids back here. You wouldn't get us anyways. And Daniel kind of looks at him like, bro, I'm just trying to shop in the store. So obviously, Daniel's like, dude, like, I'm just going to go back here real quick. I just want to see what they have. I'm not going to like spend too much time here. You don't have to worry. And the other emo kid steps up and he's like, dude, I don't have to worry because you're not coming back here, because you're not one of us. We can tell that everyone understands you, unlike us, because society doesn't get us like how we get each other. And Daniel's kind of just looking at these two kids like, bro, what's going on here, bro? Like, I don't really understand, like. And Daniel says, all right, man, like, I'm sorry, society, like, does you so dirty or whatever, dude. And Daniel's like, I'll just be a quick second. And the other emo kid kind of, like, snaps back at him like, don't you step 1 foot further. You're not welcome back here. You're not one of us. You're not an emo kid. I don't know if he literally said emo kid. I don't know if they refer to themselves like that, but he's like, you don't get us, man. Only people like us, societal rejects, the people that nobody understands and how deep it is and how hard it is, can be back here, and you're definitely a normie, bro. I can just tell. You step 1 foot back here, and, you know, I'm going to send you back to, and he takes like a second to think of something. He's like, Pain Town with my knuckle sandwich. And Daniel's looking at him like, bro, 2006 called and they want their entire aesthetic back. But whatever, dude. So Daniel's like, all right. And then Daniel completely ignores what he says and takes 1 step forward because he's trying to go to the back of the store to see what they have. He's probably not even going to buy anything. He's definitely not going to linger back there with those kids there. He doesn't want to hang out with them. Dude, trust me, Daniel does not want to be there as much as they don't want him there. He's just going to go in quickly, but he's also not going to not go to the back of the store because these these kind of like edgy edgelord kids are like, dude, society doesn't understand us. Leave us alone, bro. Like, nah, dude, he's still gonna go there. And like, honestly, like, I don't know if I would have done the same because I'm very not confrontational, but I would have been pretty annoyed. So sure enough, right, Daniel takes 1 step to the back of the room. And the thing is, Daniel didn't even take 1 step like aggressively towards the emo kid. He literally took it past the emo kid. He was taking a step in the direction of like the back of the store, not towards the emo kid. And Daniel like doesn't even really understand what's happening, but he just feels this like this force on his face, and all of a sudden his entire face is stinging and his head is like ringing a little bit. And then all of a sudden, right, he kind of comes to and realize that the emo kid just punched him in the face. And Daniel looks at him, he's like, dude, what did you did you just punch me, bro? And he's like, dude, I said only societal rejects allowed back here. You just didn't heed my warning. And so the guy, like, at the Zoomies, like, the front of the desk of Zoomies is seeing what's going on, sees the kid punch him, is like, you guys got to get out of here. Like, I'm not having any of this in my store. And the, the emo kid is like, bro, this kid literally attacked me. And at this point, Daniel's like, dude, what? Dude, I was just trying to go to the back of the store. You say all this cringe stuff, and then you punch me in the face. And then when we're told to leave, you said that I attacked you? And the emo kid's like, bro, look, he's lying. Look at the way that he's so angry. He's getting so angry because he's lying, dude. And he's talking to the guy at the front desk. He's like, don't kick me out and my friend. Kick this guy. This guy's causing up a huge storm. And the guy at the front desk is like, I really don't care. I need all of you guys out of the store immediately. And, Daniel's other friends are at the other side of the store, and they're looking over like, what is happening? So Daniel looks up the guy at the front desk, and he's like, all right, man, like, just so you know, this guy attacked me, but, like, whatever. I'm not trying to make your job harder. Look, I've worked retail before. I get it. I know it's hard. I'll just step out of the store. And the two emo kids were like, life is so unfair. Society strikes once again. And they like slowly lumber out of the store. But dude, you might be thinking that the cringe is over here. No. That's where you're mistaken. Comment emo down below if you'd like a heart on your comment. Emo is going to be the secret word of the day. And while you're down there, follow my Instagram. It's in the description. That's where you can send in the stories. Turn on notifications, join the Discord server. And anyways, right, Daniel and his friend and the emo kid and the two emo kids all walking out of the store. And the emo kid is like, bro, I was like, where am I going to go now? Zoomies was the only place that accepted us. And Daniel's like, dude, you should have thought of that before you punched me in the face. And then all of a sudden, right, there's this mall cop that's walking around, kind of just patrolling the area. And one of the emo kids is like, Mr. Police Officer, Mr. Officer, whatever, we need you real quick. And the police officer's like, okay, like, he wasn't really doing anything. But, he's not trying to really do his job either. So he's like, fine, what is it? He walks over and the emo kid is like, this kid literally punched me in the face. I need you to kick him out of the mall. And the officer's like, oh, and turns to the kid. He's like, all right, is this true? And Daniel's like, dude, what? No, this guy punched me in the face. The officer's like, all right, well, if I only have conflicting stories, I'm going to be forced to, like, kick you guys both out of the store. And Daniel's like, oh, I didn't do anything. I just went into the store and he just punched me for not being emo. And the officer looks at Daniel and is like, all right, your story's sounding a little suspicious. You're telling me that this kid punched you because you aren't, like, emo or something? I don't think I can believe that, man. And Daniel at this point is like, kind of like, he's like, Daniel's lost for words because this is like the craziest thing that's ever happened. However, shout out to Daniel's friend, because Daniel's friend is like, hey, I saw a security camera in there. Like, I'm pretty sure that whatever altercation happened was caught on camera. And as he said that, one of the emo kids, like, their faces both dropped. And the officer's like, oh, yeah, like, I can actually, like, it's pretty easy for me to request that. And if it's a certain type of camera, they can actually play it back directly in the store. And they walk back into the store, and the guy behind the cash register is like, oh, you guys are back already? And then he looks at the officer. He's like, oh, boy, what did you guys do now? And so anyways, the officer goes into the store, goes up to the register, and asks the guy if he can see, like, the camera. There was some kind of camera that was able to, like, you could play it back instantly or something. Or it's very easy for the officer to check the cameras on site. So anyways, he goes to the footage, looks back at it, is looking at the kids, like, kind of like looking at the camera, then looking at the kids, kind of to make sure that he's, like, seeing who is who. And he puts down the camera, and he looks at Daniel, and he's like, all right, son, like, you can go, like, you can do whatever you want. And then he turns to the emo kid, and he's like, why? He just says, why? Like, why would you call me over when it's very clear that, like, you confronted this kid and then you punched him square in the face? He didn't even, like, return a punch to defend himself, which if he did, I'd still have to kick him out of the mall, but that would have been more understandable. Like, why would you call attention, like, to this whole situation? And, you're going to get kicked out of the mall because I'm going to have to do that. It's part of my job. And the emo kid is just like, society once again strikes. No one understands me. And the two emo kids are like, ugh, society. And the police officer looks at the emo kids and is like, guys, This is not society doing you wrong. You literally punched some guy in the face and then told a police officer that, like, or a mall cop that he punched you. And then when you caught on your lies and got caught like attacking someone, you're shocked that you got kicked out. Are you serious? And once again, the emo kid is like, society, you wouldn't get it, bro. Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it. How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a good day. Today we got some crazy emo kid stories that I know for a fact you will enjoy. So sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's call the first subscriber who submitted this story Hank. By the way, all these episodes are on Spotify, and they normally come out a couple hours early on Spotify, so make sure to check that out. First link in the description. Anyways, back to the story. So we're going to call the first subscriber who submitted the story Hank. And anyways, this all happened when Hank was shopping at the mall. So Hank used to always go to the mall to shop with his friends. You know, it was just a fun place to hang out. They didn't really have a lot of other places that they could go in the town that they lived in, so the mall was probably their best bet. And sure enough, one of these days, one of Hank's friends wanted to shop at this place called Hot Topic. If you don't know, Hot Topic's a place where they have a lot of t-shirts and other kind of apparel that is very, I don't know, like fast fashion-y, brand-centric. Like, it's very much like, you'll have a lot of different brands, or kind of like, you'll find a lot of band t-shirts, a lot of kind of like, okay, so a lot of different stuffs at Hot Topic, but one kind of theme of clothing that you'll see at Hot Topic is emo style clothing, if that makes sense. So like really black clothing, edgy clothing, stuff like that. And just so you know, like, I have nothing against it if you dress like that. I think it's a cool enough style. I think you're fine if you, even if you identify as like, oh, I'm emo in the way I dress or act or whatever. I don't really care. Live your life. However, as long as you don't act like the kids in these videos, especially this one, you're chill with me. But anyways, Hank just was like, okay, man, like, you want to go to Hot Topic, that's fine. Hank hadn't really been in that much, so he didn't really know what to expect. So Hank was walking into, the Hot Topic, and he was looking around, and there's a whole host of people, and Hank's friend was like, all right, man, like, I'm going to go to the back of the room. I know what I want. I'm going to go in their skateboard section. You can kind of just wander around here. I'll be out when I'm done. So Hank was totally fine with this, and Hank kind of like was wandering around, and he walked over to one of the t-shirt aisles, or one of the t-shirt rack aisles, and that's when he accidentally bumped into this kid. And this kid turns around. And just to paint the picture, this kid has super long black hair. He's got like black mascara on, black lipstick. He's got black painted nails. He's got a spiky collar. He's got like a black band t-shirt. He's got like long black jeans, and then those like big black stomper boots. I don't know if you know what I know, like if you know what I mean, but like those big, kind of like those big rubber black boots that are pretty popular right now. And he turns around and he's like, dude, what the heck, bro? And Hank's just like, all right, my fault. Like, I didn't mean to bump into you like that. I was just looking around and wasn't paying attention. And the emo kid's like, dude, you're like, shut up, bro. Hank's kind of just looking at him like, I don't really know what you mean. Like, I didn't do anything. Like, are you good? And the emo kid's like, bro, like, I don't need to hear that sass from you, bro. Like, I really just don't need to hear that. And Hank says once again, like, dude, I don't know what you're saying. Like, I'm sorry. I'll just go the other way. And Hank kind of turns around to de-escalate because he doesn't feel like, escalating anything. It's just not a good idea to get into fights like that. And that's when the emo kid's like, yeah, you would run. You're dressed like one of those jocks anyways. Which, like, Hank kind of turned around because he didn't know what that even means. First of all, I mean, isn't jock a positive thing? Like, I get that there's a bit of a negative connotation of like, oh, you're a dumb jock or something. But I would have thought that like jock would have meant like, oh, you're an athlete, which isn't that a good thing? Like, I'm kind of confused right now. Is that not a good thing, And Hank, kind of turns back. And he's like, dude, like, why? Like, why are you like making a problem with me? I don't have a problem with you. You're kind of the one that's making this into something, because Hank really did believe like I'm not the one doing anything. It's like 100% this guy who's making it something, And the kid's just like, well, like, you're just looking like a dumb jock. Oh, isn't that right, guys? And he turns around, and there's two other emo kids, and they look very similar to the main emo kid, but they kind of just, they're dressed slightly different, but really. I mean, it's funny how, like, I saw this on South Park, but it's funny how, like, non-conformists all dress the same. I'm just like, Well, I mean, you are conforming to something, but anyways, right? So the other two kids, the other emo kids, are kind of there along too, laughing, and Hank is starting to like get upset by this because he doesn't really care about like these random kids what they think, except he's got three kids standing there pointing at him, laughing in his face when Hank didn't deserve it. Like Hank was thinking like, look, if I deserve this, if I was being like an absolute like, if I was being a jerk to them or for some reason I actually did something, sure, maybe I deserve this. But Hank's just thinking to himself like, dude, I don't deserve this. I was literally just chilling here. I actually bumped into this kid. Like, I'm sorry about that. Like, my fault. Once again, my fault. But that's when Hank turned the tables on the emo kid. And the thing is, right, the emo kid was wearing a band t-shirt. And the thing about band t-shirts is, you don't necessarily need to know everything about some place that you rep. Like if you wear a t-shirt that's from Starbucks and someone's like, okay, well then name all the flavors of like cappuccino you can get. It doesn't have to be like that. But the thing is, a lot of people wear band t-shirts because the band t-shirts look sick and they don't know any of the songs from the band, which, I guess is fine. But like at the end of the day, a lot of people will kind of pretend to know it and not actually know it. So, Hank was like, well, screw it, bro. He's like, all right, buddy. And he looks at the main emo kid, and the main emo kid looks at him back. And he's like, all right, buddy, name me 3 songs from that band. And he points to the emo kid's t-shirt. And I don't know, maybe it was like Nirvana or something. Like one of those kind of like t-shirts or whatever, which, and the emo kid looks at him, and he has this kind of look of shock. This look of, oh my God, like you caught me. Kind of the look of like, man got caught in a trap right here type of look. And the emo kid's kind of just like, how about you name me 3 songs from this band, bro? And the emo kid turns to look back at his emo kid friends as kind of like, oh, what's their reaction to that sick burn? And they kind of just look at him blankly. I think the emo kid was kind of expecting he would turn around, he'd look back to his friends, and he'd be like, oh yeah, wasn't that a crazy burn? I totally got them. But his friends look back at him kind of just like, dude, like I don't know how to break it to you, but you didn't get him. So the emo kid turns back around. He's like, I don't need to do anything you say, bro. I'm not going to conform to your standards. And then the 2 emo kids were like, yeah, that's right on, bro. You're so right. And they like dap him up. And Hank at this point he's just so done. He's just like, bro, because he realizes, like Hank's like, you know what? I'm not going to fight with these kids. These kids are obviously a lost cause. This is not worth my time. So Hank gets up, he turns around, and he's kind of says like, whatever, man, like go live your life. Hank turns around, starts to walk away, and that's when he feels a tug on his pants. And he turns around and he sees the emo kid failing to pull down his pants. So basically the emo kid couldn't wanted to he couldn't let Hank just leave by himself. Like he couldn't let him just do that. So when Hank turned around and started to walk away, the emo kid went to jump and try and pull down his pants to pants him, to embarrass him, to impress his emo kid friends and be like, oh my God, I totally owned him, dude. So at this point, Hank is like, dude, stop pulling down my pants, bro. And the emo kid's like, oh, sorry, I just slipped. And he's like, and his emo kid friends laugh along as well. At this point, Hank's getting really annoying. He's like, sorry, bro, I'm not into you like that. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, you're trying to pull down my pants. So you're telling me you're not trying to get a peek? And the emo kid's like, dude, it's not like that. I was trying to pants you. And Hank's like, yeah. You wanted to pants me so you could see my bare bottom. Did you really want to see my bare bottom that bad? And at this point, the other 2 emo kids start laughing a little bit. And the main emo kid turns around and he's like, stop laughing, it's not funny. Turns back around, he's like, dude, you don't know what you just did. And the emo kid walks up to Hank with his chest puffed out. He's like, bro, you literally don't know what you just did. You don't know who you're messing with. Okay, I don't know if he started to tear up or anything. But at the exact same time, the mall cop that happened to be going around the mall to make sure that nothing's happening looks into the Hot Topic and sees basically this kid walk up to this other kid with his chest puffed out. So the mall cop outside kind of slows down walking and looks inside. And sure enough, right, Hank is like, hey, look, I'm not looking for any trouble. And the emo kid's like, yeah, that's what I thought. You're freaking scared, bro. Don't tell me otherwise. You're freaking scared. And at this point, Hank's like, dude, I'm not scared. It's not like that. I just don't want any trouble. Like, you're not worth my time. And he's like, I am worth your time. I'm worth all of your time plus some because I'm worth more than you, dude. You don't know who you're messing with. At this point, right, the emo kids was really kind of just showing his true colors and being like, I mean, kid's insecure. That's fair enough. He's trying to act all tough in front of his friends. So once again, Hank's like, he turns around and he's like, all right, man. He's like, dude, I'm just not doing this. Once again, have a good life. Hank turns around, and as Hank's turning around, the emo kid is like, in his head, he's like, I can't let this slide. So the emo kid literally raises up his hand and swings on Hank. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment emo down below. I just want to see how many people made it to the end of this video, as I do appreciate you guys. Best way to support the channel, as always, is just watch a bunch of the videos. The more watch time you give to the channel, the more we get promoted in the algorithm, and I really, really do appreciate it. Let me know in the comment section what you do while watching my videos. I genuinely want to know. Just so you know, all these episodes are on Spotify. It's in the description, the first link. Please rate us 5 stars when you have a chance. If you want to submit these stories, and please do, because, that's how I make these videos, go to my Instagram or Twitter. They're both in the description, but they're also at connorpugs. I got a Discord server, link in description, code connorpugs for 10% off gamer subs. Let's get back to the story. So Hank, remember, he turns around and Hank's like, dude, I'm not going to deal with you like that. It's just not worth my time. So Hank turns around and the emo kid, who's like, I can't let Hank like one-up me. Like, I can't let this random kid like, kind of like alpha me in front of my emo kid friends or whatever. So as Hank turns around, the emo kid swings on him, takes his fist. The thing is, though, the emo kid's not like a trained, fighter or boxer or something. So obviously the emo kid doesn't make contact with Hank. Instead of making contact with Hank, the emo kid nearly misses Hank, and his right hook goes right through a rack of clothes. The emo kid was really putting his full force into this too. Because once the emo kid misses and whiffs on Hank, the emo kid flies forward into the rack of clothes. So he basically pushes himself into a rack of clothes, fails to swing on him. The mall cop, however, did see the emo kid try and swing on Hank, so he walks in there. Hank turns around, and he sees the emo kid on the floor in a pile of clothes, and he's just so confused on what happened. And then, Hank turns around the other way to see a mall cop standing in front of him. So Hank's really confused at this moment. He's like, okay, 1 second ago, I turned away from the emo kid. And a second later, the emo kid is sitting face first in a pile of clothes, and a mall cop is standing above me. This literally makes no sense. And sure enough, the mall cop's like, hey, hold up, everyone. I got to talk to you guys. And the two emo kids, from the back, they get scared and they literally run off. They disappear into the rest of the story. He's like, hey, you get back here. But also the mall cop didn't really care that much because the two people that he really wanted to talk to were both Hank and the emo kid who swung on him. So the emo kid gets up. He's kind of panting a little bit. He's like, and the mall cop's like, hey, I saw you swing on this kid. I know you didn't make contact, but you did try and swing on this kid. It's 100%. What's going on here? The emo kid's like, dude, I was just defending myself. And at this point, Hank's like, that's not the case. This kid and I were kind of talking back and forth. He tried to pull down my pants. I made fun of him for doing that. I turned around and he tried to swing on me. At this point, right, the mall cop kind of witnessed the last 60% of this altercation. So he knows for a fact that he saw the emo kid try and pull down the pants and then have an argument. So the emo kid says, well, after I pulled down his pants, this kid tried to swing on me and I just defended myself. And the thing is, right, that was a mistake for the emo kid because the mall cop had been watching the whole thing. So the mall cop knew for a fact that that wasn't the case of what happened. So the mall cop goes on to say, dude, I know for a fact that's not what happened. I saw you guys kind of bickering in the store, and I wanted to make sure that we had no nonsense going on. Obviously, some nonsense did go on, and I watched the whole thing. I saw you try and pull down this kid's pants. He did not swing on you. I don't know what he said to you that offended you or anything, but it's very clearly that you're the aggressor here, and I can't have that. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna need you to come with me. And the emo kid's like, all right, buddy, go ahead with him. And the emo kid is looking at Hank and kind of giving him this look of come on, bud, go ahead. He's asking for you. When in truth, the mall cop is not asking for Hank. The mall cop is asking for the emo kid. So the mall cop's like, sorry, man, you must be mistaken. I'm not asking for this guy over here, pointing to Hank. He's like, I'm asking for you. And he points at the emo kid. And the emo kid is so absolutely stunned by this revelation. He's like, at this point, the emo kid is practically speechless. The emo kid is standing there, is just like, you must have some kind of mistake or something. Like, you can't be talking about me. That's insane. Like, there's no way. Like, what do you mean? Hanks is looking at the emo kid with this bit of a smirk, and the mall cop is kind of like, come on, bud, like, we don't want to have any trouble here. Make this nice and easy for all of us, and just come along with me. And, you know, at this point, the emo kid is looking at Hank and kind of just giving him this look of like, this isn't over, buddy. This isn't over. And Hank is kind of just like, wow, this, like, a lot just went down in the last 5 minutes, you know, because this was like no longer than like 10 minutes of an altercation. And as soon as the mall cop basically drags the emo kid away, his friend comes rushing up to him, and he's like, dude, like, I just checked out the thing I was getting, and in his hand, he had this, like, skateboard thing or whatever. He's like, dude, I just saw, like, a mall cop over here. I saw some kid getting dragged out of the store. Did you happen to see what happened? And Hank just looks at his friend, and is like, did I happen to see what happened? He's like, buddy, I lived what happened. Okay, so we're going to call the subscriber for the next story Bobby. I got a little King the Hill theme going on with these names because I got Bobby and Hank. If you know, you know, and you're cool. Anyway, so Bobby was like hanging out at home one day, and one of his friends hits him up. And, you know, Bobby, you know, doesn't see this friend this often because they happen to be going to 2 different schools, even though they live relatively in the same area. They're both in high school, and they're both seniors in high school. So Bobby's friend, who we're going to call Ben, actually happens to have a car at this point. And, you know, Bobby's friend Ben hits up Bobby one day, and Bobby's just chilling at home, and he gets a text from Ben saying, hey, do you want to, like, hang out today? And Bobby was feeling kind of lazy, so he's like, maybe, like, what do you want to do? His friend's like, dude, I want to go to the skate park. And Bobby, in his head, he's like, I don't know if I want to go. Like, this is, I don't know. I don't know, man. I really don't know. And Bobby should have stayed home that day based on what was about to go down, but he didn't because he wanted to see his friend Ben, and he was like, wait, what else am I going to do today? Watch Netflix? I know for a fact by the end of the day, if I'm just sitting here watching Netflix, I'm not going to be a happy camper. So sure enough, Bobby texts him back. He's like, yeah, man, like, I don't got a ride, but if you can pick me up 100%. So sure enough, this friend, you know, I don't know, an hour later, pulls up to Bobby's house and says, hey, man, get in. And, you know, Bobby shows up to the, you know, the window. He's like, hey, what's up, Ben? Haven't seen you in forever. Just so you know, I don't have a skateboard, just so you're aware. And Ben's like, dude, I got 2 in the back. Don't worry about that. I got you. So sure enough, you know, Ben hops into the car with Bobby. And, you know, they drive, or Bobby hops into the car with Ben. They drive over to the skate park, which is like 15 minutes away from where Bobby lives. And they get out, and, you know, Bobby used to skate a little bit back in the day with his friend. It's been a while, so he's not going to do any tricks or anything like that, but he's just getting along, he's just getting on the board. He's kind of riding around a bit, just getting a little bit of exercise, and mostly he's out there just to hang out with Ben because he hasn't seen Ben in a second, and they used to be really tight. So sure enough, you know, Bobby and Ben are just chilling at the skate park. They're having a good time. They're kind of just living their life, and that's when a very specific looking group, of these emo kids. They pop out of nowhere, basically, and they just appear at the end of the skate park. So this skate park is pretty big. It's not like a massive one. It's not like where you'd have a professional skater event or something. But it's a pretty big skate park. Like, the city definitely put some, like, a good amount of bread into making this. So sure enough, you know, they're looking over, and they see this group of kids. And this group of kids has, like, a ringleader that's, like, standing in front of the other 2. And he's kind of dressed like they're all dressed like kind of like the other emo kids in the last story time. So I'm not going to go ahead and describe them. They're dressed a little bit differently, but it's all kind of the same, if you know what I mean. So sure enough, you know, the kids are just standing at the end of the park, and it's really awkward because, like, Bobby goes over to Ben. He's like, dude, like, see those kids? And Ben's like, yeah, I've just been staring at them. And Ben's like, dude, they just been looking at us for like the last thing. Checks his watch. He's like, dude, they just been looking at us for like the last like 2 minutes, bro. That's really freaking weird. And, you know, Bobby's like, yeah, man, like, this is kind of weird. I don't totally know, like, what's the deal with all this. Like, do you know what's up with them? And Ben's like, dude, I don't go to this skate park. Like, this is your skate park. And Bobby's like, yeah, I don't really skate anymore, so I don't know. Maybe this is like a place they normally go to. Either way, this is kind of weird. Let's just stay on this side, and hopefully they'll stay on their side. And if they come over, you know, hopefully they're cool. Spoiler, they're not cool. Yeah, they're the farthest thing from cool. But anyways, Bobby and Ben try and ignore these kids, as these kids literally, the thing is, these kids, they don't even have they don't even have like a skateboard with them. And you don't need to have a skateboard to hang out at a skate park. A park is a park, and it's a cool place to just hang out with some friends. That's 100% true. However, I will say it is a little weird to like show up in a group of kids or a group of like a bunch of people, stand there and watch other people without saying anything to each other, without doing anything like that. I will say that itself is pretty weird. So sure enough, Bobby and Ben are just kind of standing there like, dude, this is really freaking weird. What's going on? And that's when they look over, and sure enough, they see the emo kids start to walk closer to them. Like, the emo kids were just standing there for a good solid, I would say 10 minutes. And that's when the emo kids start to walk over to Bobby and Ben. And at this point, Ben turns over. He's like, dude, what is up with your neighborhood, bro? Like, why do you always get the weirdos? And Bobby's like, dude, it's not my fault. I don't go here this often. I don't know. And that's when the group of emo kids shows up. And there's like very clearly like, this is going to sound weird, but like an alpha one. Like, okay. I'm not trying to use like weird like alpha male terms or whatever. Oh, Connor, which one's the sigma male? Shut up if you say that in the comment section unironically, dude. Actually, shut up. But anyways, sure enough, the kind of like the alpha of the pack, whatever that even means in emo pack words, is like, hey, you two, I need a word with you. And Bobby and Ben kind of just look at each other just like, oh my God, like what's going on here? It's just kind of strange. Ben kind of like whispers over to Bobby like, dude, we are never going back to your park ever again. And Bobby kind of just gives him this look of like, dude, I can't control this. So sure enough, the emo kid, let's just call him the alpha emo kid. No, I can't say that for much longer. The main emo kid, King the Pack or whatever, walks up to them. He's like, bro, do you not know? And Bobby and Ben kind of look at each other, and Bobby speaks up and says, no, like knows what, like no what. The emo kid laughs. He's like, oh, you don't know then. This is our turf, dude. And Bobby and Ben kind of look at each other, and Ben speaks up like, turf? Emo kid's like, yeah, man, you don't understand. This is our turf. And Bobby just means like, what does that even mean? And they're like, dude, you don't want to mess with us. And one of them like legitimately pulls out like a wand. Not like a knife or something, not like actually trying to be intimidating. Like, this isn't like, oh, they think they're like actually in a gang or something. This is their turf. They pull out a wand, like a freaking Harry Potter magic wand. And, the main emo kid's like, bro, my boy over here knows magic. You don't want to mess with him, dude. And so Bobby and Ben kind of look at these kids, and, Ben speaks up. Ben's a little bit more brash. Ben's a little bit more, I don't know, confident is maybe the wrong word, but I'm going to use that word than Bob. Confrontational, that's right. Ben's a bit more confrontational than Bobby is. So Bobby would have been fine literally just going somewhere else. It's not like there's not a lot of other places. I mean, there's not a lot of other places they could go, but it's not like Bobby's a big skater in the first place. He just wanted to hang out with Ben. And Ben literally goes up. He's like, dude, what are you going to do with that little magic wand? You're going to wave it around, put a spell on me? It's this freaking Harry Potter, dude. We don't care. You guys don't have turf. That's ridiculous. Like, look, we're not taking up the whole park. This park's massive. You guys chill over there. We'll do our thing over here. There won't be any trouble. The emo kid's like, dude, there's going to be trouble if you guys don't leave or at least pay respects. And, Ben at this point's like, the frick you mean pay respects? Like, what is that? Like, what do you even mean by that? And at this point, Bobby's starting to realize that Ben is kind of finding this amusing more than concerning. Bobby's more concerned by this just because they outnumber them like 4-2. And these emo kids definitely like aren't hitting the gym every day. But at the same time, like 4-2, it doesn't matter like how big you are. Like, you're not taking them one-on-one. So like Bobby didn't want anything like that. Even if it's that emo kid smoke, he didn't want it in the first place. So sure enough, Bobby kind of looks at Ben and kind of gives him a look of like, hey, like, come on now. And Ben is like, no, I'm going with this. And Ben's like, all right, man, you know what? Put a spell on us, bro. Like, if you honestly, like, you know what? We're going to take the punishment. Put a spell on us. And the main emo kid looks at them and is like, dude, you don't want our smoke like that. You don't want us to, like, drop a spell on you like that, bro. You don't know our power. You don't totally get it. And Bobby is just looking at them. And Bobby's, like, kind of, like, completely freaked out at this point. Not that they're going to actually put a spell on him and, I don't know, curse him or something. Bobby's just so freaked out by everything going on that he just doesn't want anything to do with it. So Bobby is like, I don't know, man. How about we just like, we stay here and you go over there? And the emo kid's like, I'm not talking to you, little boy. Which like Bobby was like so taken aback by this that and Ben was like, you don't call my friend that. Come on, if you're such a big guy, little boy. And at this point, Ben says little boy back to them. If you're not such a big guy, little boy, put a spell on us. And he points to the guy in the back. And there's like a little emo kid in the back with like a little magic wand or something. The main emo kid says, you know what? Gentlemen, I don't want you guys to be seriously hurt. So I'm going to give you one more chance to leave the premises, or my friend will put a spell on you, and you will be cursed so badly that you will not make it out of this park alive. We have magical powers that you simply don't understand. And Ben is looking at them, and Bobby is looking at them, and the emo kids are looking back. At this point, it's a classic. It's one of those classic Texas standoffs. Like, who's going to shoot first? But instead of shooting, it's either staying there or shooting your magic spells through your wand or whatever. And, Ben was like, all right, no, we're staying here. Put a spell on us. Do it. And the emo kid is like, fine, you have sealed your fate. And all of them walk away. At this point, Bobby and Ben look at each other. Bobby's like, dude, those kids are weird. Like, I have no idea what's going on. Ben is like, really is your neighborhood spawning out the most NPCs in the world, dude? Like, this is crazy. And, Bobby and Ben were probably going to go back and forth a little bit about how weird these kids were, but they were unfortunately interrupted by chanting. So they look over and they see the emo kids, like, holding hands, chanting, like, kind of like going in a circle, like kind of like moving in a circle, holding hands, chanting like demonic tongues. At this point, Bobby's like, bro, I'm kind of freaked out. And Ben's like, dude, this is a comedy routine. Please, like, chill out. And at this point, they do, like, the chanting gets louder and louder. And it's kind of weird. Like, it's really strange. It's like they definitely been rehearsing this. And Bobby admits to me that for a split second, he was thinking, like, dude, what if these kids actually have magic powers? Spoiler, they don't. They're just weird, right? And by the end of the chant, one of the kids comes over. The main one grabs the wand, starts swinging it around, and starts walking over to them. He's like, one last chance, boys. I'm giving you one last chance to literally survive. I'm giving you one more chance unless you want to, if you want to leave here and see your parents again. And Bobby was just in his head like, dude, this kid's legitly weird. And Ben says, bring it on, dude. I want to see the worst you have. And Bobby was like, he admits, he was a little bit concerned just because, I don't know, just like the confidence these emo kids had was kind of startling. And the main emo kid's like, fine. Takes up his wand. He starts like saying a bunch of like random gibberish and waving his wand in a circular motion, pointing it at Bobby, right? Or at Ben, not Bobby. And Ben, kind of looks at Bobby and gives him a wink. And Bobby knows that, Ben's about to be up to some mischief. And the kid is like, ha-da-da-da, ha-da-da-da, ha-boah, or does like what is very clearly like the final motion. And Ben literally like opens his eyes super wide, clutches his heart, and drops to the ground and doesn't move. Bobby is like a little bit freaked out, but he also remembers that Ben just like gave him a big wink. And you hear all the emo kids, like some of them are in the back like, oh my God, it actually worked. The spell actually worked. And the main emo kid has this look on his face, like the most scared look you've ever seen. The main emo kid was terrified because for for a good 30 seconds, the main emo kid actually thought that he just killed this kid from his like magic spell or whatever. So sure enough, the emo kid like drops his wand, rushes up to Ben and is like, no, the spell, it was too powerful. I should have held back. And Bobby's just looking at him. And the emo kids, the other ones, are standing like talking to each other. And they're like frantically talking to each other. They are really concerned about this. They're like, dude, do we call the cops? Do we bury the body? Like, what do we do? Like, what if our parents find out? All this kind of nonsense, right? And that's when you hear giggling. It started as giggling, but then it just evolved into laughter. And that's when Ben flips over and you can see that he's just been laughing. He couldn't hold it in any longer. And he gets up, he's like, oh my God, you fell for it. This is the funniest thing ever. He's like, guys, you're not wizards, you're just weird. Go to that side of the park. We're going to be here, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's when I think the emo kids kind of realized that, they weren't going to scare them out of there, and they definitely were not going to fight them out of there either. So sure enough, the emo kids they don't even say anything. These kids I guess they're kind of done with trying to scare like Bobby and Ben out of there. So they pick up their stuff, they get up and they leave. And Bobby and Ben, they go back to doing their whatever they were doing before. But it really was just never the same after that, because like for the rest of the day, Ben would just continuously make emo kid jokes and Bobby would laugh and make them back. So in fact, the rest of the day was better than ever before. And this happened a long time ago. Like, this happened like 4 or 5 years ago. And Bobby and Ben actually reunited about a year ago. And literally, the only thing they did during their, when they reunited was retold this story and, made jokes about it the entire time. And, this is probably, if you want to continue supporting the channel, please
click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it.
How's it going, everyone? Today we have a story of one of the cringiest emo kids of all time, so sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're calling today's subscriber who submitted the story Brent. So this all happened when Brent was at soccer camp. And so Brent went to the soccer camp every single year, and it just happened that this year he encountered the emo kid at soccer camp. So anyways, this was just another summer of Brent going to soccer camp. His mom dropped him off, and once again, he was pretty excited to go. Unfortunately, some of the friends he made from the year before, they didn't show up this time, so he was very proactive about finding people, meeting new people, and trying to make some new friends. So anyways, in the very beginning of soccer camp, they had kind of a get to know other people type deal. And all of a sudden, right, Brent sees this girl, and she was at kind of the girls' soccer camp. So it was kind of split up like boys' soccer camp and girls' soccer camp. However, it was all under the same umbrella of the soccer camp program. So they would eat lunch together, do non-soccer activities, but the morning soccer practices were kind of split up by gender like that. And so anyways, right away, Brent saw this girl, Emily, and he immediately kind of fell in love with her. Not actually, but was like, OMG, lol, she's cute. I'm going to try and hit. No, I'm just kidding. He's I don't know. He's gone to soccer camp. He's not trying to hit, bro. That's crazy. But anyways, right, so she's going to be an important character later on. But for the meantime, we don't need to think about her because someone much more important comes into the picture. So while Brent is thinking about oh my God, look at that girl over there. I got to start talking to her. That's crazy. He accidentally bumps into this guy and he turns around. This guy is I don't know, a little bit bigger than him, a little bit heavier than him, just kind of a bigger guy. And he's got this long black hair that's swooshed over. He's wearing the standard soccer cleats, but otherwise it's this black band heavy metal t-shirt. He's got black painted nails. He's got a spiky wristband on or whatever. And he turns around, he's yo, what did you bump into me, bro? And Brent's oh, my fault, didn't mean to do that. He's you don't think that I'm an alpha? Is that what you think? Brent's what? He's I'm an alpha male, just in case you weren't aware, which I know that you subconsciously were, because, all betas instantly know when there's an alpha present. And Andrew was the guy from 7 stories ago. Brent was what? He's bro, do you not know what beta males and alpha males are? Well, basically, beta males are like you and lame, and alpha males are strong, powerful, and dominant in the pack. And with that, the emo kid does a big, swipe of his big, long, black hair. So, his bangs would no longer cover his eyes. It immediately fell back in front of his face. He's yeah, just so you know, kid, get out of my way. And the emo kid, shuffles away. And this was Brent's first interaction with the emo kid. So he's okay, that's cool, man. Okay, see you around, buddy. Bye-bye. So anyways, let's fast forward a little bit. After soccer practice in the morning, Brent was actually one of the better kids there. He was pretty good at soccer. They had lunch, and in the afternoon, they had activities such as this, I don't know, tag, capture the flag, all kind of random camp activities. And today was capture the flag, and Brent happened to be on the same team as Emily. So immediately he goes over there. He's hey, how's it going? My name is Brent. Emily's hey, my name's Emily. Nice to meet you. And Brent and Emily immediately hit it off. They're having a good time. They're talking with each other. They're enjoying each other's company. You simply love to see it. And like from very far away, Brent catches the eye of the emo kid who's on the other team and is just staring him down for some reason. Brent doesn't really think much of it, and then he goes back to talking to Emily. So they're playing capture the flag right now, and Brent runs over to the other side, gets the flag, right, and starts running back to his side. If you don't know capture the flag, there's like this little penny on both sides, or like a little piece of cloth or something, and while you're on the opponent's side, if they tag you, you're in jail. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to run over there, grab their flag, and run back to your side without being tagged. However, there was a stipulation that it had to be a tag. This isn't tackling. You can't push someone. You can't punch them or anything. You have to tag them if they're on your side. So, Brent is running over there. Sorry, I have a list of names in front of me and from other stories. Brent is running over there. He grabs the enemy team's flag and is running back to his side, and he's really close when he just immediately slams into the ground. And that's when he realizes that there's a big guy on top of him. And that's when he realizes that the emo kid tackled him. So the emo kid's like, "Nice try, buddy. Next time, try not to fight the alpha males." And then camp counselor comes over and says, Hey, we said no tackling. You're on the sidelines," points to the emo kid. He's disqualified or whatever, has to sit on the sidelines. Ooh, so alpha, man. But anyways, right, so the penny's returned, but also Brent isn't in jail. He goes back to the other side, and the emo kid has to sit out for the rest of capture the flag. And Brent continues to talk to Emily, and the entire time, the emo kid is just looking over, and he's all angrily staring at Brent. So Brent is now his official enemy. Brent kind of just assumed that they were enemies because of when he bumped into him and also when he got him disqualified, which, did Brent really get him disqualified, or was it because he's an idiot and jumped on him? That's why he got disqualified? Who knows, man? But there was another reason why the emo kid hated Brent. There was another reason that Brent did not realize at the moment, but was very, very, very potent, and is going to be very, very important for later on in the story. I'm gonna give you guys a hint. It starts with an E and ends with a mly. Did you guys get it? Starts with an E and ends with a mly. Emily? I'm just going to tell you, yeah, it is Emily, the girl. So emo kid likes her. Anyways, so Brent and Emily talk for the rest of that capture the flag game. The entire time the emo kid is staring Brent down. Brent just simply assumes, well, this kid hates me for that reason only. But let me just say that the next week of soccer camp was the craziest week that Brent has ever had. So anyways, right, his mom picks him up. He goes back home. His mom's like, "Hey, how was the first day?" And Brent says, "Oh, I met this really weird kid who tackled me." And she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, actually, I have barely any scrapes on me even, but he seems to not like me, so I'll keep you updated on that." So Brent is dropped off the next day, and he walks over there. And that's when the emo kid, is just staring him down. And, Brent is kind of walking over because there's a little bit of a 5, 10, 15-minute period where the kids are just standing around talking with each other, waiting for them all to be dropped off. And then the soccer camp officials or camp counselors would then split them up into groups, do soccer drills, play games, whatever, standard kind of affair. And he's just kind of waiting around. And that's when the emo kid comes up to him and says, "So you're challenging my authority as the alpha man?" And Brent is kind of just like, "What?" He's like, "I'll say it again, just in case your little beta ears couldn't hear me. So you're challenging my authority that I am the alpha male of the pack. If we were wolves, which we kind of are," and Brent was like, "What?" "If we were wolves, as we kind of are, as I said, I would be the alpha male, alpha wolf, and you would be the beta wolf, and I would be banging your wife while you watch little cuck beta wolf, whoop." And Brent is looking at this kid, and this kid is like, no offense, but this kid is the opposite of what a stereotypical alpha male would look like, right? One of those red-pilled alpha males. It just looks the complete opposite of that. But anyways, Brent's not gonna get into he's not gonna rebuttal this kid, because what is there to rebuttal? Everything, man. This kid has no argument. But anyways, Brent's like, "Okay," and the emo kid's like, "Well, you say okay, but remember yesterday when you got me kicked out of the game, which you obviously tipped off the ref?" And Brent's like, "Bro, you tackled me. It's very clearly stated in the rule books that you're not allowed to tackle anyone. How is this on me?" He's like,
Dude, it was so clearly on you because the ref understood that I was the alpha male and I was simply asserting my dominance, bro. And, Brent's just like, dude, the frick are you talking about, dude? Like, I paid him off with what? The $5 allowance I get a week? With what? My used smelly, stinky socks? What do I have? And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe he took his daughter on a date because his daughter's so ugly she'd never get a date. Oh. And Brent's like, was that a diss? Like, does he even have a daughter? He's like 20, bro. What? And the emo kid's like, anyways, I just wanted to let you know that I'm the alpha man. You're the beta man. I will do your wife when you have one. And scene. And the emo kid walks away. And Brent at this point is like, what? Why? Why is this my life? Anyway, so skip forward to the soccer practice. They're put into groups, and the emo kid was in group B earlier, so they basically split them up into group A and group B. So group A is the better players, and group B is the I'm just kidding, the players who are newer to soccer. And the emo kid apparently was on the cusp of group A. It was at the very top of group B, and because his performance was good enough, he was actually moved up to group A. So now Brent, instead of having a morning to himself to focus on soccer, now had to deal with the emo kid being, thrown into the mix here. So anyways, they're doing some drills with the soccer ball, and they're kind of like kicking them around cones. You had to kind of keep control of the ball while you were running. And the emo kid, they said, okay, line up into 3 groups. And the emo kid immediately ran behind Brent. And Brent kind of looks behind him. He's like, what? And the emo kid said, nothing, Brent. Just letting you know that I'm the alpha male here. And Brent's like, okay, fine. Let's just do the drill. So the ref blows the whistle. Brent starts kicking the ball and moving with it. And the emo kid immediately runs up behind him and trips him. He's like, oh, sorry. And the ref's like, hey. And the emo kid's like, it was an accident, I swear. And the ref's like, all right, be careful. And Brent is starting to get really angry because, if you get an injury in soccer, especially if you get a foot injury, he could be out for the entire week. I mean, this is one of his favorite camps that he has every single summer. He loves going to it. It's one of his favorite things to do. And this emo kid, for the second time in the last 24 hours, has, has gotten really close to causing him a pretty big injury. He could have jumped. He jumped on him yesterday. He ran behind him, knocking him over. What if he twisted an ankle? What if he, fractured something in his leg? It's not that hard, especially when you got a big old kid jumping on top of you every 5 minutes. It's difficult. It's not that difficult, man. So anyways, Brent, for the next activity, waits to get into line before the emo kid does, because he doesn't want to be in the same line as the emo kid. But it turns out that, everyone else lines up, and it's literally just Brent and the emo kid waiting for each other to move, because the Brent wants to go where the emo kid doesn't go, and the emo kid wants to go where Brent goes. And the refs not the refs, but the soccer coaches are like, come on, kind of guys, get into line. And Brent's like, okay. And he sprints to the end of the line, and then the emo kid sprints to the back of that line. And the coach is like, emo kid, says his actual name, can you go to another line? That line's too long. And the emo kid's like, okay, moves over one line. And when the coach turns his head, the emo kid literally runs back into the line with Brent again. So when the coach turns around, he's like, wait, emo kid, I said, could you go to that line? And he's like, fine. Emo kid eventually goes to that line, actually does that. So for the rest of the soccer practice, the emo kid tried to bump into Brent, tried to make his life difficult, basically was just being a big butt the entire time. But thankfully, that nothing really happened. He didn't bump into Brent successfully again. In fact, the emo kid, most of the time when he tried to bump into Brent would do some very slick soccer move, kind of break his ankles, not literally, but you know what I mean. And the emo kid would fall flat on his face because he kind of tried to run into Brent, and then Brent sidestepped him and completely swerved out of his way. Anyways, though, things start to get a little bit more interesting because throughout the next day, Brent and Emily are talking it up. It's kind of the known thing for the camp that those two were kind of the unofficial soccer camp couple. I don't know if your camps had stuff like that, but this was true for the soccer camp. And word was that the two of them, they were gonna kiss soon. Oh my God, guys, isn't that 12th base or something? So sure enough, right, one of these days, so like a day later, Emily and Brent are just sitting with each other at lunch. They're kind of on like a quote unquote date or whatever. And that's when a girl comes over and sits next to them. And Emily's like, oh, this is my friend Robin. And Robin's like, hey guys, like, I just want to let you know, Emily, that the kid over there, and points to the emo kid, is planning to ask you out soon. And Emily's like, dude, I don't know that kid. I've never spoken to him in my life. And Brent's like, oh my God, I know exactly who that kid is. Emily's like, what? And Brent basically tells her the story that I told you guys for the last 13 minutes. And she's like, oh my God, he's the worst. And Brent's like, well, that would explain why he really hates me too. Because like, not just that I embarrassed him, but I've been hanging out with you the entire time. And, you know, he probably knows that we've been talking a lot. And Emily laughs a little bit. And this is when Robin says, dude, like, I'm serious. This kid is going to come over and ask you out within like the next 24 hours. He's going to do it publicly. It's going to be really embarrassing. Everyone's told him not to do it, but he's in his own world. You gotta let him down nicely though. And you know, Brent was like, no mercy. Make him suffer. Emily's like, Brent, I'm not going to make him suffer. I don't know this kid. Brent's like, make him suffer. Emily's like, shh. Okay, I'm going to be nice. When he comes over, I'm going to be firm, I'm going to be direct, but I'm going to be nice about it, I'm going to be cordial, and life is going to go back to what it was before. So sure enough, right, Brent now realizes that the emo kid has a massive crush on Emily. And Brent also starts to think about it. When Emily says no to him, and when she starts really, you know, hanging out with me more, and when word gets around that we kiss, because we totally are, this is in Brent's head, right, he's going to actually, like, ramp up the craziness even more than it already is. I think I'm screwed, boys. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment emo down below. I'm going to heart as many comments as I can that say that. That is the secret word of the day. And also, if you want to support the channel and help boost me back into the algorithm, all you got to do is at some point, maybe after this video, maybe later, sit down and watch a bunch of my videos in a row, maybe while you're playing video games or drawing or cleaning your room, or maybe to help you go to sleep. I take that as a compliment now. I understand it. Leave in the comment section down below how you're helping boost the channel. I will heart it, I will say thank you, and I'll even shout some people out, like the person on screen right now. Thank you to this person on screen and all of you guys for all the support recently. It's really helped boost the channel. We're growing again. You'll love to see it. Let's get back to the story. So anyways, flash forward to that night, or not that night, but that afternoon. Remember when this is the mixed gender, just fun, more camp activities, they're playing dodgeball. And sure enough, you know, the emo kid and Brent actually happen to be on the same team this time. So, like, emo kid and Brent, they're picking up the dodgeballs, they're throwing them, you know, they're trying to avoid being hit by the dodgeballs. And the emo kid walks over and is like, sup, bro? And Brent's like, what? Emo kid's like, I just want to let you know that, like, I know that you and Emily, or you have been trying to flirt with Emily, and it's been failing horribly from my sources, at least that's what my sources said. And I just want to let you know that, you know, I let you have your fun. I let you play like the little beta little lamb you are. But I'm actually going to come in and, as the alpha male, assert my dominance and claim what is mine. Emily shall be my girlfriend by the end of tomorrow. Mark my words, and I will watch as little tears roll down your face because you're so sad that I took your girl. Oh, little Brent, I'm so sorry. Brent's like, dude, she's not gonna, I've talked to her, she's gonna say no. Don't do it. I hate you, but I know for a fact that you're gonna get rejected in front of everyone. The emo kid's like, nice try, little boy. I know for a fact that my testosterone is 10 trillion and yours is 0. So based on that alone, plus a billion other factors, such as my manliness, my alpha maleness, my swag, overall levels, and a billion more things. Just, she will obviously say yes to me. And even if you two are fake dating, she'll break up with you immediately to say yes to me. I just know some things that you don't know, Brent. Get over it. So the emo kid walks away. And Brent's like, well, you know, my conscience is clear because I tried to warn the kid not to do it. I tried to warn the kid, right? I'm not a bad guy. I told him not to do it. I told him. I said, I even gave him the benefit of the doubt. I said, I don't like you, but I want to help you here. He didn't listen to me. It's not my fault, whatever happens tomorrow. Next day rolls around. At soccer practice, the emo kid for the entire morning is like, Brent, better spend the last moments with Emily as you can because she's about to be my girlfriend. Oh, and Brent's like, dude, shut up, dude. He's like, oh my God, am I getting to you, man? Am I getting to you, man? Oh man, it was so easy to break your thin, weak beta skin. Oh my God, my words are hurting you so much. I'm gonna lick up your little salty tears. They're so tasty and so good. And Brent's like, shut up, bro. You're gonna get embarrassed. I can't wait for the moment. She better go hard. Anyways, flash forward to lunch. The moment. So anyways, Brent is sitting with Emily, and Emily's like, dude, the emo kid, I can't see him anywhere. And Brent's like, dude, he's going to ask you out. It's happening. Get over it. It's going to happen any second. She's like, he's going to do it the next day, which means probably now in front of everyone. And, you know, Brent's like, that's what he said he would do. And Brent was like, oh my God, don't turn around. Because Brent was looking, and the emo kid was walking over. And what was he walking over with? He was walking over with a boom box. You already know where this is going. And Brent's like, you know what? Brace yourself. Try and have an out-of-body experience right now so you don't have to deal with what's about to happen. This is about to be bad, Emily. I'm so sorry. And Emily's like, oh my God, oh my God. And that's when you start to hear music. It's the emo kid's personal band. So it's like this heavy metal rock band. So just imagine some like heavy metal rock going in the background. And the lyrics are, Emily, Emily, why do you hang with losers like Brent? Emily, please love me. Yeah. And it's just kind of like more stuff like that in the background. And the emo kid is like rocking out by himself with an air guitar while this is all going on. It is the worst moment of Brent's life because the secondhand embarrassment is so strong, he's basically getting firsthand embarrassment from the whole thing. Everyone has stopped eating and turned around, including the camp counselors. They're just watching this kid bounce around with an air guitar with his like super long black bangs flying around all around the place as this boombox plays one of the crappiest songs they've ever heard, terribly mixed, the worst lyrics, basically saying that Brent sucks and that she should be in love with him, and he's bouncing around, and then after 5 whole excruciating minutes, and everyone at this point is laughing and trying to hold themselves together, after 5 whole long excruciating minutes of the worst music ever and some like really bad air guitar and bouncing around, the song stops and the emo kid says, Emily, it is clear who you shall choose. What is your verdict? And Emily's like, I'm sorry, I don't know you. I'm not going out with you. Emo kid's like, that's hilarious. What's your actual verdict? Emily's like, dude, I don't know you. He's like, dude, that's hilarious. What's your actual verdict? And Brent's like, all right, man, that's enough. Let's concede while we're behind. The emo kid looks at Brent and says, this isn't over, man. And he walks away with his boombox. And Brent's like, why did he say that to me? I didn't dump him. And Emily's like, dude, that was worse than I could have ever imagined. And right, so Robin, the friend who warned them, came over again and said, look, I should have warned you about that. I didn't think it was real. I didn't even think that was actually going to happen. I was told earlier this morning and I laughed. I'm so sorry. I should take anything that you hear about this kid seriously from this point on because, oh my God. And Emily's like, wait. Oh no, we still have an activity tonight, this afternoon. And Brent's like, oh my God, he said this isn't over. And sure enough, it was far from over. So they get to the activity that afternoon. So it was probably the worst possible activity that it could have been because it was small groups of charades. They kind of ran out. They had something else planned, but since it started to rain, they had to go inside. So they're like, all right, we're going to break you off into small groups of 3. And we're going to have you play charades with each other. And at this point, they're like, okay, what are the odds? Brent's like, what are the odds that I'm put with? And the person says, Brent, Emily, and emo kid. And Brent's like, you got to be joking, man. You got to be joking. Apparently, right, Robin tells him this, later on, once the camp is over. Apparently the emo, because she was talking with one of the camp counselors about everything that went down. The camp counselor said that like once like it started to rain, the emo kid went up to them and asked what they were doing. Camp counselor said, oh, we're doing small groups of charades. And the emo kid requested that his two best friends and him were put together in a group. So it wasn't just random, it was the emo kid, but Brent didn't know that at the time. So Brent looks at Emily and Emily looks at Brent, and they're both basically just like, oh boy. And then they both look at the emo kid, who has a massive smile on his face. So all three of them go away to a corner. And the emo kid's like, Emily, I might have came on too strong. And she's like, well, that's an understatement. But he's like, I will show you the truth. Brent, I challenge you to an alpha battle. Brent's just like, what's an alpha battle? Ha! You're such a beta for not knowing what an alpha battle is. Beta. He's like, an alpha battle will be proof that I am alpha and you are a weak beta. And then Emily will choose me. And Emily's like, I'm not. And he's like, wait, your heart will tell you otherwise after the alpha battle. Emily's like, okay, I'm still not going to. She's like, God, stop, silence, woman. And Brent was like, whoa, chill out, dude. He's like, you silence too? We're having an alpha battle right now. So, right, this just kind of looks like they're doing really weird charades from afar, but the emo kid is like, all right, let's form our best wolf poses. Brent's like, what? He said, form your best wolf poses, now! And emo kid, Brent's like, all right. Ooh, emo kid's like, that is the worst wolf pose I've ever seen. You were definitely not part wolf like I am. And the emo kid does this really weird pose. He's like, oh my God, I'm wolfing so hard right now. This is the most emo thing. I mean, the most alpha thing I've ever done. Oh my God. At this point, Emily's like, guys, you are both embarrassing yourselves. Emo kid, it's like, no, you will see that I'm the most alpha. I swear. Emo kid's like, all right, let's do it. Wrestle me. And, Brent's like, what? Emo kid jumps on top of him, just tackles him to the ground. Because he's like 20 pounds heavier, right? And a little bit taller. And Brent was completely taken off guard. He's like, bro, stop. What are you doing? And the emo kid's like, I'm out alphaing you. That's when the camp counselor comes over and says, all right, guys, break it up. Tears the two of them apart. He's like, all right, so we're only doing this for 20 more minutes, but it looks like you two can't keep off of each other, so I'm going to be joining your group. Imagine how awkward this is. It is Emily, Brent, the emo kid, and a random camp counselor. So they do normal charades, right? And the entire time, the emo kid is like sneaking in punches to Brent's arm. He's like, ow. And when the camp counselor looks up, the emo kid puts his arms behind his back. And the emo kid's like, this isn't over, man. And then the emo kid walks over to Emily. He's like, tss, tss, Emily, tss. Emily's like, what? Do you think I'm more alpha? Shut up, kid. Emo kid's like, no. Okay, I'll just be direct. Do you want to go out with me? No! And the camp counselor was like, guys, silence while I'm doing charades. And Emily's like, dude, I don't want to go out with you. How many times do I need to tell you this? Emo kid's like, but I'm definitely more alpha. She's like, that's not a real thing. So the next day rolls around. It's Thursday. And that afternoon, there's no real activity. It's just known as like the soccer dance or whatever. And during the soccer dance, there's one coveted slow song where anyone who has feelings for each other might ask for like a slow song or something. And sure enough, let's just jump to the dance because the emo kid is like being a jerk to Brent all day, but that's not anything new. And sure enough, it is the dance. And they're putting on normal songs. And Emily and Robin and Brent are all together like, dude. And Robin's like, dude, the emo kid is definitely going to try and get that slow song with you. Like, Brent, you got to swoop in right away. Because at this point, Brent and Emily were, like, unofficially a thing. They're only at camp for a week, so they're not going to make, like, a long-term relationship. Let's have kids, baby. Okay, you know what I mean. But sure enough, the slow song comes on. And Brent's like, oh my God. And Emily's like, quickly. And you can see the emo kid sprinting from the other side of the room. So Emily and Brent quickly like get together in the slow song, kind of like whatever. And Emily's standing there and she feels Brent being ripped off of him. And the emo kid grabs Brent, rips him off Emily and tackles him on the ground. And this is what the camp counselors are like, oh, okay, foul play. They go in, they grab the emo kid and they like run it, like they take him off. They're like, all right, buddy, this is like your third strike and you are out. So they call up the parents of the emo kid. They say, your son can't come tomorrow. He's like fighting this one kid again and again, and he won't stop. And so sure enough, the emo kid was picked up, taken away, and Brent and Emily finished off with a slow song together. The next day rolls around. It is Friday. It is only a half day where basically the parents come and watch a little like soccer presentation that all the kids have done. And by the end of it, right, most people are packing up. Brent and Emily are gone. And you remember the friend Robin from the beginning? One of the camp counselors and Robin were like friends or whatever, or like friendly. And the camp counselor's like, do you happen to know about that like emo looking kid? Like, do you happen to know what was up with him? And Robin's like, do I have a
Click on the video on screen right now.
You?
I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
Leave a like on this video and I'll actually give you nothing at all. No, but what's up guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. And just imagine you're chilling with your girlfriend. Life is awesome. You stare into her eyes lovingly, and then all of a sudden this emo kid walks in and says that you must fight him to the death to decide who gets your girlfriend. And at that moment, you seriously just sit there and question your life choices. That is the story I'll be telling today. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's just jump right into this story. So we're going to call a subscriber who submitted the story James. So anyways, there was a kid in James's class who we're going to call the emo kid. He kept to himself. He wore crazy makeup and the dark clothing and whatever. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what you wear. But he was also extremely melodramatic. Like he would come in and he'd be like, society doesn't understand me. No one gets me. I'll never fit in. He was kind of like one of those kids that kind of just like would say this stuff and then would be like, why do I not have friends? I'm just a melodramatic freak all the time, which, I mean, I was pretty weird in middle school, so like I can't really speak. But then again, hey man. Anyways, so there's also a girl in, I don't know, I'll just call her like, we'll just call her Kate, right? It's name of my friend back home. So anyways, James and the emo kid, unfortunately, had to cross paths because they both had a thing for this girl. And this Friday, right? So this story all starts like this weekend, or not this weekend, we'll say starts on Monday. And this Friday, remember, not actually this Friday, I mean this Friday in the story, was going to be the school dance. And the whole thing was like whoever got the slow dance with this girl was basically going to like, so the thing at James's school is if you slow danced with a girl, you were basically dating her at this point. You guys were practically in love at that point. So it was a pretty big deal who was going to get the slow dance. And it was the emo kid versus James. And this became very public knowledge. Like the emo kid was telling everyone that he was going to 100% get the slow dance. And people kind of knew James because James was more popular. He wasn't like, I don't know, some like really annoying popular person. He was just like a cool guy that everyone liked. I mean, at least according to James, who submitted this story. So who really knows? But we'll go with it, right? So everyone kind of knew that both the emo kid and James were both fighting for this girl, Kate. And Kate made it pretty clear that, she was not going to say yes to the emo kid. Like, sorry, unlucky. Life just works out like that. But she was considering saying yes to James. She was kind of just keeping... the truth was that she was going to say yes to James if he asked. However, she just wanted to keep him kind of like on his toes and questioning or whatever, right? So, yeah, throughout that whole week, the emo kid and James, they weren't like in a fight with each other, but they were kind of like rivals in a sense, even though they never had any direct confrontation. And let's just skip ahead to that Friday. It was the day of the school dance. It was emo kid versus James. So anyways, at this point, the emo kid is like, he's kind of like, he's standing in the corner at the dance, right? Look, I was pretty awkward in high school and middle school when it came to those big dances. But to be fair, everyone else was as well. But the emo kid was kind of taking it to a whole different level. He literally was like slouched in the corner of the room. His like long black hair kind of like down. Almost like, that scene from The Ring with that like the girl who comes out of the TV. He was kind of looking like that chick for a second. So he was definitely not helping himself out in this situation. And at this point, James and his boys were kind of standing like together, whatever. They were dancing to, I don't know. I don't freaking know what they play at high school dances. Maybe some Whip Nene by Silento. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a middle school dance, bro. I don't know how this works. But anyways, they're kind of waiting for the slow song to come on. Maybe some, I don't know, some like song by Adele or something like that. Like
when like, dude, I always try and like say lines from songs during these stories, and I just blank every single time. But anyways, yeah, so they're all kind of waiting around there, and it was eventually the slow dance song came on. And remember, you might be thinking, oh man, who cares? It's just like a slow song. No, no, no. What you have to understand is the slow song meant everything to these kids. Like the slow song, basically, if you had a slow song with some girl, because remember, they were in middle school. This was like 7th, 8th grade. So probably the farthest you ever went with a girl was like slow dancing or maybe holding her hand if you were like crazy. Because, you know, if you hold if you hold a girl's hand for too long, there is a chance you get her pregnant. So definitely not misinformation from the Connor Pugs channel. But anyways, slow dance was a really big deal. And all of a sudden, the song comes on. And the thing was, right, the emo kid was too busy kind of like sulking about society in the corner of the room to react quick enough. So James was like, all right, bro, like that guy's playing himself. I'm going to go in. So James very quickly goes in and boom, he gets there, goes up. He's like, hey, like, Kate, like, can I have this dance? And she very happily says yes, because she said like, oh, I don't know if I'll say yes. She knew she was bluffing the whole time. And James kind of felt pretty confident about it. And even though she said, I don't know, he was pretty confident because her friends were like, yeah, dude, she's totally bluffing. Like, I hate to expose my friend like that, but she definitely has a thing for you. You're chilling. You're in the green. So anyways, James goes in. He feels pretty good about the whole thing. But let me just say that the emo kid eventually looks up and then he sees this. And the emo kid is not having it. So he does something pretty insane. So strap in and definitely prepare for the cringe. If you have your cringe seatbelt unbuckled, I'm actually going to fine you for your own safety. So yeah, go ahead and buckle that cringe seatbelt, because there was like a DJ station and there was like a guy who was like DJing, quote unquote, and there was like a microphone. So like the DJ could say like, hey, like 20 minutes till the dance is done, or get ready for this hype song or whatever. And other than that, he was really just a Spotify playlist. He just edited the Spotify playlist, right? However, the DJ let the Spotify playlist run on autoplay or whatever, and he went to the bathroom. So the emo kid ran up to like the spot or whatever. He grabs the microphone. He stops the music. First of all, he goes up to the Spotify, clicks pause on the music, and screams into the microphone, "Wait!" And everybody turns around. Everybody turns around and they look at this kid. And they're all kind of like looking at this emo kid who's standing at the front of the room with like the microphone. He picks it up. He's like, Kate, no. So at this point, everyone's kind of looking at this kid like, oh my God. Because they all knew that like he wanted to have the dance with Kate, but like James obviously got it. So they were like, that's tough, man. Like life sometimes doesn't work out the way you want it to. Like that's just unfortunate how that goes. However, you know, he goes up there and he goes in the microphone, like he says, wait. And everyone turns around. The music is off. He's like, Kate, may I have this dance? And everyone's so confused because, first of all, he turned off the slow song in the middle of the song. And also, she was already dancing with someone. And instead of just going up to her, he makes a massive scene in front of everyone, grabbing the microphone and screaming into it, saying like, will you have this dance? And the thing is, right, it's caused enough commotion that the guy, like the DJ that was hired, ran back. Because I think he was supposed to be there the whole time, but he needed to like rip a piss or something, so he needed to go. And he runs back over. He's like, give that back to me. He like snatches it out of the emo kid's hand. He's like, sorry for the interruption, guys. Turns the music back on, like starts like, not cursing out this kid, he's a middle schooler, but being like, dude, what do you think you're doing? You can't just like come up here and take this stuff. Like, if you do this again, I'm going to tell your teachers and you'll be in big trouble. Or, I mean, I don't know how much trouble a hired DJ can get you in, but, you know, the emo kid returns to his corner and literally just sits down, just slumps into the corner of the room, which James felt kind of bad. He felt a little bit bad because, like, James has definitely been in that position. I say that very kind of liberally because James has not actually been in a position where he grabs the microphone at the school dance, stops the music, and asks the girl out unsuccessfully. He hasn't specifically been there, but he's definitely been in a situation where it just hasn't gone his way. So he feels bad, man. You know, feels bad, man. You hate to see it. But yeah, anyways, James like continued on with the slow. I mean, he's not going to stop his life because this kid has an unlucky moment. Like, that's tough. So, yeah, while I will say there was kind of an awkward moment because while like James is like slow dancing with Kate, he kind of like turns around, like they kind of like turn around so now James is facing the emo kid and he just looks up and the emo kid is staring at him with like the creepiest, most stalkerish, most scariest stare he's ever seen. Because the emo kid is slumped over like the girl from The Ring, right? And is just like staring right at him. His like long black hair, like covering most of his face besides his eyes, and he's like slumped over too, like kind of like crouching over like an old guy with a cane or something but without a cane. And James is like, hey, do you mind if we turn like 45 degrees this way or 90 degrees this way? Thank you, that's much better. So he doesn't have to see him anymore. Or actually, let's do a whole 180. I mean, he didn't ask for a 180 because he didn't want like Kate to be making eye contact with him either. But yeah, so that was a bit of a tough situation. However, you might be thinking, well, I mean, at this point, reasonably, the emo kid must have realized that this just wasn't his day, and he must have just like given up. Which he's already embarrassed himself. Like he probably gave up after this point. And while that would be pretty fair for you to believe, that was unfortunately that was just not what happened. Because the emo kid would continue. Let me just say that the emo kid thought that if he had a sword fight with James, that he would be able to win the honor of his lady. I'm not even kidding you. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment emo down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. I will try and heart as many of those comments as I possibly can. And also, if you want to support the channel, the best possible thing you can do is just watch this video throughout the entirety of this video, and then afterwards, if you could watch some of my old videos, that helps more than you can ever imagine. Please go in the comment section and tell me how many of my old videos you've watched today or this week. I'll heart it and say thank you because it helps me out more than you can ever imagine. Anyways, let's go back to the story because the emo kid is not done. In fact, he is far from being done. So what happened after the school dance? Like over the weekend, James actually met up with Kate. They went to like go get dinner together. And that's when they officially started dating, whatever that means in 8th grade, which means, oh my God, they're going to sit together at lunch. Oh my God, dude, that's crazy, right? But anyway, so James officially starts dating this girl. Word gets around really quickly. And eventually the emo kid, I'm pretty sure at this point the emo kid would have known, but by his next actions, it's not super clear. So that Monday is the first kind of like lunch day that Kate and what's his name, James, are going to be having their first real at-school lunch date, which is a pretty big deal for the 8th graders there. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal in general, but hey, man, let them have their fun. And so, yeah, he sits down, like he finds Kate, they sit down, and they're at a table by themselves. And like people are looking over and talking and be like, ooh, someone's dating, whatever, right? And however, James, Kate is facing away from the door, but James is facing the door. And James sees the door open up and he sees the emo kid walk in. And James is like, this is tough. Because James feels bad. He legitimately feels bad because, I mean, if the roles were reversed, he would feel bad like seeing the girl that he really liked a week ago sitting with the guy who was low-key his like enemy rival on a date. Like that would be tough to see. And James started to feel a little bit worried when the emo kid starts to approach him, right? Starts to approach him. And yeah, so the emo kid walks up to their table. And at this point, Kate also realizes that someone's walking up, so she turns around. And the emo kid walks up and doesn't look at James. He's not paying any attention to James. He's actually acting as if James doesn't even exist at this point. The emo kid turns to the girl, Kate, I forgot her name for a second, says, Kate, I've been wanting to ask this for a while, but since we've become so close in the last couple weeks, which they have never spoken before, but that is beyond the point. At this point, that is beyond the point. He's like, I was wondering if you would like to go on a date with me, if you would like to start dating. And James is like, oh, no, he doesn't know. How does he not know? Because James is like, everybody knows. Everybody told everybody, but I guess everybody didn't tell the emo kid. Of course they didn't. And Kate at this point is like, oh, well, I'm very flattered. And the emo kid's like, well, if you're flattered, then you should say yes, correct? And at this point, she's like, well, you see, it's actually not great timing because I'm actually currently in a relationship. And the emo kid's like, what? How? With who? And James is like, oh my God, this is so awkward. He doesn't know. So James has kind of assumed that the emo kid didn't think anything of the fact that James got like the dance with her, which in all reality, the emo kid was kind of the one who had the most common sense in that situation, because just because someone dances with a girl once doesn't mean anything, right? But at this middle school, if you got the slow dance, you were basically in. You were locked in at this point, is what I'm trying to say. So Kate has to go on to awkwardly explain to the emo kid that, well, the guy that she's sitting at right now on the lunch date with happens to be the guy that she's dating. And the emo kid turns to James, looks at him, looks him down and up, like does like the elevator look when he looks at like the top of his head, looks all the way down, then looks all the way up, turns back to Kate and is like, really, dude? You decided to date this guy when you could have dated me? He's like, bruh. And he just kind of like storms out of there. And James looks at Kate and he's like, dude, how did that kid not know that we're dating at this point? Like, I swear to God, all your friends told everybody. Like, and Kate's like, dude, my friends didn't tell everyone. And James is like, if you ask anyone at the school, besides the emo kid, apparently, they will know. And Kate's like, yeah, okay, my friends do talk a lot. And they're like, well, that was pretty awkward. Hopefully nothing else happens again. You might be thinking at this point, Connor, the emo kid must stop. There's no way he continues on. There's not a chance that he continues, right? Well. I got some news for you guys. He does continue, and it's bad. Because you might be thinking that, oh, well, the emo kid stormed off and he was done. No. About 20 minutes later, when there's only like 10 minutes left of lunch, James sees the doors open up again, and he's like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Because the emo kid walks through. But this time, he is like stomping towards James super angrily. He runs up to the table practically, looks at James, looks him in the eye, and says, it's not over between us. It is far from over between us. And is like taking his little finger and like pointing at James. And James is like, okay, nice. Like, I like, we do not care. Like, I don't know what else to say at this point. Like, okay, cool, nice. Like, okay, what do you want me to say? And the emo kid after that is like, you better watch yourself. It's about to get bad. He like storms out of there. And, you know, at this point, James is like, okay, well, I guess that answers my question. So the next day at lunch is where things get really, really, really crazy. So he's sitting there with Kate on his second date. James is enjoying himself. He's having a good time with Kate. They're enjoying each other's presence. They're doing well. I mean, they're kind of clicking, so things might continue on, right? And that's when the emo kid walks in, and he's carrying like two sticks, like two pretty good sized sticks that he probably found in the backyard of the school. So in the backyard of the school, there's like a mini forest, nothing too crazy, but there's like a pretty big forest back there. And the emo kid must have gone back there and like found two decent sized sticks. He walks into the cafeteria with one stick in one hand and one stick in the other, and James is just looking at him. And he's like, he kind of says like to Kate, he's like, oh, okay, we got trouble. Kate turns around, looks at it, and it's just like, turns back around and is like, what? And James is like, yeah, I have no idea what's happening, but I guess we're about to see. So the emo kid walks up to the table, like kind of like waddles his way up, and he's like, you. And he like hands the stick to James, and James is like, like, I need a little explanation. What do you want me to do with this? Like, it's not super clear. The emo kid's like, you and I will have a sword battle, and whoever wins the sword battle will have the will win the honor of your lady, and will. At this point, like Kate's like, what? And James is like, dude, what are you saying? He's like, fight me to the death. The winner gets your girl. And James is like, no. And the emo kid's like, oh, so you're scared of me then? You know that you're gonna lose, and that's why you don't want to do it. And James is like, well, I'm not convinced I'm going to lose. I mean, I'm not an expert at random stick fighting or whatever, but at the same time, why would I want to even engage? Like, why would I even want to do it? And the emo kid's like, well, I mean, for the sake of your honor, bro, like, do you really want to be known as the guy who chickened out because he's a chicken? And James is like, well, I mean, I don't really care, but I also don't want to be known as the guy who went on, who during the dance last Friday, grabbed the DJ's microphone and like stop the music to like ask out a girl who was very clearly in the middle of dancing with someone else, and then come into school the next day super angry with a bunch of sticks and try and like fight some guy to get the girl that already obviously said no to him twice. At this point, the emo kid's like, so what you're saying is that you're too scared to fight me, and because you know you'll lose. And James is like, dude, we're going in circles right now. I'm not fighting you. I'm not having a sword fight to the death. Like, okay, I'm just not doing that. At this point, the emo kid's like, fine. Well, you're about to see me in my final form, where I am the most powerful. And James is like, okay. Like, word. And then the emo kid reaches up to James and rips out like a strand of his hair. And James is like, dude, like, that hurt. Like, why would you do that? And the emo kid's like, I need that for my wizardly spells. And he like laughs really awkwardly and like shuffles out of there. And James turns to Kate. He's like, dude, like, what life choice did I make to get myself to this position? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, what choices did I make that got me here? And Kate's like, I don't know. Like, this is kind of tough. He's like, yes, why me? Like, why? Like, you just came up to me with a bunch of sticks and says, I want to fight you, right? And then all of a sudden, you know, he just like pulls a piece of hair. Like, what? Huh? Bro? I just don't know. I just don't know what to do at this point. And Kate's like, yeah, I don't know. But like, I think eventually he'll just get bored of whatever he's doing and give up. So anyways, next day, it is lunch. Lunch once again. And James comes in and he finds Kate. And he's almost like they sit down. And he's almost like, he's really stiff. He's like not talking that much. And Kate's like, are you good? Like, is everything okay? And James is like, dude, it's not you. It's just the emo. I just don't know what that kid's going to do today. Like, I'm not trying to lose any more hair. Like, that really hurt last night. Like, I was starting to bleed from my scalp where he pulled me. Like, that was ridiculous. And, you know, Kate's like, yeah, that kid's pretty weird. Like, sorry you have to go through with that. And speak of the devil, dude. Because at that point, the emo kid walks in. And at this point, he has a backpack on. And he has a smaller stick. And he has a stick in his hand, a smaller one. And a spirit Halloween wizard hat on. and James is like, you gotta be kidding me, bro. Like, you gotta be kidding me. And at this point, Kate's like, what? She turns around and she's like, oh my God. And the emo kid walks up and he's like, ha ha ha, like, this is where you made your mistake, James. This is where you made your last mistake. And he walks out, and he sits next, and he like stands up next to them. He reaches into his backpack or whatever. He takes out a piece of chalk. He takes out a plastic bag that has a hair in it, presumably James's hair. And he also has like a candle set and a lighter. And he sits down on their he like sits down next to them, and so they had concrete floors in the lunchroom. So next to them, he draws like a pentagram, puts a bunch of like candles around like the pentagram, takes James's hair, puts it in the middle, lights all the candles. At this point, like, this is taking like 2 minutes to do. Kate and James are just sitting there looking at him, completely aghast. Like, what is this kid? What is this kid on? Like, whatever he's on, dude, like, maybe get me some of that. Oh my God. No, but they were just like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to say? So eventually the emo kid has his whole, I don't know, his magic setup is all done or whatever you want to call it. And he starts lighting all the candles. He's like, James, this is your last chance. Give me your girlfriend and I won't put a spell on you. And James is like, dude, what do you mean give me my girlfriend? Like, it's like a mutual choice to be like girlfriend and boyfriend. Like, you're acting as if this is like the 1600s or something, and like the wife is the property of the husband, bro. Like, what are you talking about? And, you know, he's like, one more chance, bro. I'm about to put a crazy spell on you if you don't give me your girlfriend. And Kate, this is when Kate speaks up and is like, dude, like, even if he said that he was going to give me to you, I'm not going to be your boyfriend. Like, I'm not going to be your girlfriend, dude. And the emo kid's like, well, I'm going to put a spell on you too, dude, if you don't become my... He literally threatens Kate. and he's like, oh, if you don't become my girlfriend, I'm going to put a spell on you as well, which, okay, I might not be the smoothest individual. I might not be, I don't know, the one that has the greatest pickup lines of all time. My Tinder one's pretty funny. I did steal it from my friend, but maybe I'll 5,000 likes and I'll reveal it, because it's pretty funny, but it's also a little embarrassing. But here's one thing I do know. There's a very decent chance that if you threaten to cast a spell on a woman if she doesn't become your girlfriend, she's probably, not 100%, but probably not gonna become your girlfriend. I know I might be going out on a crazy limb right now, and you guys might completely disagree, and maybe you found your wife of 10 years who loves you very much from threatening her with magical spells. I just don't think that's a great way to do it. So eventually the emo kid finishes up, and then he lights the hair in the middle, and then he takes his magic wand, waves it around, and just starts saying a bunch of nonsense. And at this point, half the entire cafeteria is just like looking. They've almost like circled around it like it was a school fight or something. They've circled around it, and they're just like, what the frick, bro? Like, oh my God, like what's going on right now? And eventually the emo kid like points his magic wand at James and is like, ooga booga, or I don't know. He's just saying some nonsense. And like literally 15 seconds of pure silence happened. And then very clearly nothing happens. And he's like, I'm going to give you one more chance. I'm going to count to 3. If you don't, you're going to explode because of my spells. And James is like, I think I'm going to take the risk. He's like, 3? I'm going to give you one more chance, bro. Like, I'm going to give you one more chance. And James is like, nope. I'm going to take the risk here. 2. And he's like, yeah, nah, I'm good, man. Like, you can go ahead with this. If I explode, I explode. Like, that's tough. 1. Last chance, dude. I'm being super generous right now. Just give me your girlfriend, and we'll be all good here. And James is like, nah, I'm chilling, bro. He's like, fine. Kicks it. The emo kid literally kicks over his magic, like, whatever set, because I think he knew it wasn't going to work anyways, which thankfully it was concrete floors and nothing, like, flammable, because, like, the candles fly all over the place or whatever, and he storms out of there. He, like, storms out of there. At this point, James sits back down. He's like, maybe we should go on dates at night when we're not in school. And Kate's like, that's not a bad idea. So the next day, Kate and James actually don't sit together at lunch. They sit separately. So they decide that if they're going to like do anything, at least for a little bit, to do it outside of school, like after school or at lunch or something like that. But the emo kid once again comes up to James, and James is like, oh my God, dude, like what? What now? And the emo kid, like, he literally goes on one knee and like kind of like presents, he's down on one knee, puts his head down and says like, I concede the battle, you win. Like, I tried everything possible, but you are the better duelist. Like, I honorably concede. And in James's head, he's like, bro, he didn't say this, but he's like, bro, you did not honorably concede. You did the least honorable, you did not concede honorably. But at this point, James sees this as a perfect opportunity for the emo kid to just stop. So he's like, all right, man, like, it was a good battle. It was really close, and you'll get them next time. Like, honestly, James is trying to be as chill as possible so that the emo kid doesn't come back and be like, well, actually, I'm going to try more magic or something. And the emo kid stands up, and he like kind of like nods his head. And James nods his head back, and the emo kid bows and leaves. And yeah, after that point, James and Kate actually were able to like do like lunch dates or whatever in school again. The relationship lasted like 6 months. It didn't last crazy long, but Kate and James are still cool to this day. And the emo kid never
Click on the
bothered
video
them
on
after
screen
this
right
point.
now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a great day, because today I have probably the craziest emo kid story I have ever received to date. I'm not even kidding. So sit back, relax, grab something to eat, grab something to drink, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's just jump right into it. We're calling today's subscriber Ty. So anyways, Ty was going off to camp, and this was his first time doing an overnight camp, so he was a little bit nervous, and it was kind of like a wilderness-based overnight camp
but they were mostly in cabins. Ty's parents did it before, and they actually met at this camp, so they were really pushing for Ty to go. But the summer before, he just said that he, wasn't ready and was going to do it the next year. And of course, the next summer rolls around, and Ty's like, oh my god, I said that? So sure enough, Ty and his parents ship him off to this camp. Ty's a little bit nervous about it, but they say, hey man, it's going to be good for you. Trust me. Like, I know it's scary, but you just got to do it. So anyways, they arrive at the campground and they walk over, Ty and his parents walk over to the person who is signing everyone in. And it's some 25-year-old dude with a big old goofy smile on his face. He's like, hey guys, welcome to Camp Awesome. That wasn't actually the name, but we're going to call it Camp Awesome. Hi there, buddy. What's your name? He's like, Ty Gooden. And he's like, Ty, let me see. There you are, buddy. All right, so you're going to be in group B over there. And he points to this group of kids and one counselor or whatever. And Ty turns around to his parents, and his parents are like, all right, well, we'll see you in 2 weeks. And Ty's like, Mom, I don't know if I can do this. And Ty and his dad kind of sits down and he's like, yo, you got this, buddy. You don't need to worry about it. Trust me, the 2 weeks are going to fly by and you're going to have so much fun, you're not going to want to leave. That's a guarantee from me. And Ty's like, all right. So Ty walks over and he goes over to group B, and there's a big group of kids, and, the counselor's like, hey guys, my name is Ben. Don't worry, he's not the evil guy. But hi guys, my name is Ben. Welcome to the camp. These are going to be the guys who are in our group. We're going to be in the same cabin together. We're going to do a lot of activities together. You can still meet people in the other groups, but these are going to be the guys you're going to be seeing all the freaking time. So start getting to know each other. Let's go around, do some names. And so they went around and did some names, and Ty was just kind of observing, all right, well, that person seems kind of cool and whatever. Oh, we have that in common. And then it kind of comes around to this one kid that Ty didn't even realize was there until until he spoke up. And this kid had these long black swooshed hair, right? He wore all black. He had these rock band t-shirts, these big black boots. He had this spiky bracelet necklace type thing. And by the way, if you kind of dress emo, that's totally chill. I don't really care. As long as you don't act like this kid, you're cool in my book. I say this every single time. And this guy was kind of just known as the emo kid. And since I don't want to give him a name because I will forget it and then it'll be very awkward, but we're just going to call him the emo kid from this point on. And Ty didn't think anything negatively. He was just like, oh, this guy really does put a lot into the way he dresses, and he definitely dresses with a lot of character. Ty legitimately had no ill will or feelings of just ew, this guy's dressing different than me, or anything like that. It was just an observation. And so later on, they have they go to dinner together as a group, and then afterwards they have the welcome to camp ritual, whatever. They all sit around a big campfire, and they're inaugurated in the class of 2015 or whatever. I don't know. This took place a little while ago. But anyways, right, it's finally time for them to go back to their cabins to figure out which bunks they want, etc. like that. So anyways, right, they get back there, and they're just the counselor dude who is their group B counselor, right, who's also sleeping in the cabins with them. He's like, well, just to make sure that no one feels left out, we've already assigned bunks to everyone. So he said, all right, Ty, you're in bunk A. He says, so-and-so, you're in bunk B. So-and-so, you're in bunk D. And then in bunk D, which they're in kind of quads of 4, or they're in kind of groups of 2, but they're bunk beds, so it's 4. So in Ty's group of 4, the fourth one was the emo kid. So the 4 of them walk over. They go in their bunks. The camp counselor says, yo, if you really want, you can talk to your bunkie about being top or bottom. Doesn't really matter. Lol. Doesn't really matter. And so sure enough, Ty and his bunk they didn't really care. Ty was on the bottom. He didn't really care. But anyways, flip over to the emo kid. And the emo kid is with this guy, and we're going to call this guy Benjamin. He's a throwaway name, but Benjamin was his bunk. And, the Benjamin is like, hey, do you mind if I have the top? And the emo kid is like, no, I must have the top. I must keep watch at night. And everyone just kind of went silent in that group of 3. They're like, or group of 4. They're kind of and Benjamin's like, all right, man, that's fine. Bottom bunk's cool with me. He's like, good. You've made a good choice, because I will watch over us at night. I have spoken. And everyone's like, okay. A lot of character in this guy. Funny guy. Anyways, things seem pretty normal until, it's time for them to go to bed. So anyways, they go and they brush their teeth and then they get into bed and the camp counselor guy comes around and is like, all right, group B, section A, or whatever you want me to call you guys. Let's call you the A squad. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun in the next 2 weeks. Just make sure no leaving the camp or no leaving the cabin overnight. Make sure that, you follow any rules that, we ask you to. Be nice and, like fair to everyone. And just, have fun. Anyways, good night, guys. And he walks out of there. And so, the lights are turned off. And they were... Ty in his top bunk, and also Benjamin across from him, they were talking for a little bit. And the emo kid didn't really join in. He was just sitting cross-legged, but kind of sitting very stiffly. So he was very much not going to bed. And eventually they were like, all right, I'm tired. Good night. And they all kind of go to sleep at that point. And about 20 minutes later, Ty has not fallen asleep because he's still feeling a little weird. He's in a new environment. It's dark or whatever. He's a little bit scared. He's a young kid, whatever. He hears rustling, right? And that's when he hears steps, right? And he realizes that the steps are coming from across from him, and it's coming from the top bunk across from him, meaning the emo kid, is starting to walk down the bunks. He's like, all right, well, there's nothing too weird with that. And that's when he hears, because there's a door next to their cabin. So there's multiple exits from the cabin. He hears the door open and he watches as the emo kid walks out. So Ty at this point is like, what? So he kind of gets up and the person above him is completely asleep. But Benjamin, the kid from the side of him, is still awake. And he's like, yo, Benjamin. He's like, yo, what's up? He said, emo kid. Cause I maybe said his actual name, but we're calling him emo kid. He's like, emo kid, he just walked out the door. Benjamin's like, you can't do that. And, Ty's like, dude, but he did. So anyways, they both get up and they both look out the window, but they're trying to do it stealthily so that they're not caught, right? And they see the emo kid literally just standing there looking into the moon. It is the creepiest, weirdest thing they have ever seen. Because the kid is just literally freaking standing there, bro. He's just standing there observing the night sky. And they're all like, oh my God, dude, that's freaking weird. What is going on right now? And, sure enough, Ty and Benjamin were like, all right, this kid is a little strange. Make sure he doesn't, strangle us to death or something in our sleep. I'm a little freaked out. And that's when the emo kid, out of nowhere, does a 180-degree turn and turns right looking at the window. Ty and Benjamin quickly jump down there, like, oh my God, do you see us? Do you see us? Do you see us? So, Ty starts to look up. He, peeks a little bit into the window and quickly goes down because he sees the emo kid walking towards the window. And he's like, dude, Benjamin, he's walking towards the window. He's like, crawl back to your bunks. So they both crawl out of sight of the window and they crawl into their bunks. And it's dark enough in the room for them to do this without being super obvious. And they're both in their bunks. And Ty turns around under the sheets, right? And he peeks out and the emo kid is literally standing right with his nose up against the window looking in. And he's like, oh my God, this kid's insane. Anyways, emo kid walks back in quietly, goes up the stairs again, and sits in the bed and supposedly goes to sleep. Ty doesn't fall asleep for another hour afterwards, but eventually he opens his eyes to the camp counselor being like, Ty, come on. We're going to be late. And Ty's like, oh my God. And everyone else is like, yeah, you slept in, man. Actually, everyone in this bunk besides emo kid slept in. And that was because everyone was so freaked out that they couldn't go back to sleep. But anyways, first day activities. They go outside, and during the day, they don't totally have to stick with their group. They're actually assigned to random groups. However, a lot of people in the random group will be from their group because they're just trying to make friends within the group. So, and they also go to meals together, so lunch or dinner or whatever is together. And so anyways, the first activity of the day is not with the emo kid. It is actually kayak/canoe or whatever, either or, one of those two. And, Ty has a lot of fun. And they go back to dinner or lunch, They go to lunch as a group together. And Ty's, talking about what he was doing. And the counselor kind of went around the table and was like, oh, so Ty, what did you do? And Ty explains. Oh, so Benjamin, what did you do? Benjamin explains. Oh, so emo kid, what did you do? And he was like, I prayed to the overlord. And they're like, oh, I don't remember that being an activity. Emo kid's like, it's not. It's necessary. And he's like, and Okay. Anyways, guys, so I'm going to read off the people in your next activity because the way it worked was at meals. So at breakfast, the camp counselor read off what group everyone else was in for activities. And then at lunch, the camp counselor read off what people would be in for the afternoon activities. And so the camp counselor was like, oh, so Ty, Benjamin, and Emo Kid, you're all going to be in the group 7 or whatever. And that happened to be like something with like wood tool making or something kind of cool like that. So anyways, after lunch, they all head in that direction. And Ty and Benjamin are like walking together. However, the Emo Kid, it's not like they were walking away from him, but the Emo Kid intentionally stands or walks 10 feet behind them, never breaking the distance. Like they always have 10 feet between them and the Emo Kid never breaks it. And he kind of walks weird. He walks very stiffly, yet he's kind of like propped forward at a 30-degree angle. His arms shoot like straight down, and he kind of waddles a little bit like a penguin. But it's very intimidating and very weird. And Benjamin kind of whispers like, Ben, I can feel his eyes in the back of my head. Or not Ben, but Ty, I can feel his eyes in the back of my head. Ty's like, dude, Benjamin, I know. So anyways, they get there. And the camp counselor dude is like, hey guys, welcome to woodworking. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can make whatever tools or whatever you want. All I ask is that when you're using this blade, that, I'm there and help you guiding it. And also if you want any, if you want any inspiration or questions, come to me and it's all cool. So anyways, Ty and Benjamin sit down. They're like, oh, let's make wooden knives or something. So they're given a pocket knife and they're taught how to whittle away. It's like, always, you got to face it away from you. Never face it towards you. If I see you guys facing it towards you, I got to revoke your knife privileges. Not trying to be that guy, but it's part of the jab. So anyways, right, they look over and they see the Emo Kid and he's like whittling away at the spoon and at the stick. And they're all like, So eventually at the end of class, the end of the activity, they're asked to go around in a circle and say a little bit about what they made and show it off. So Ty's like, all right, well, here's like a butter knife and didn't turn out that well. And everyone laughs a little bit. And the camp counselor's like, dude, it's fire. That's your first time. Don't even worry about it. Eventually comes around to the Emo Kid. And the Emo Kid is like, whips out this like almost perfectly whittled. Like this is like really professionally well done. And the camp counselor's like, wow, what is that? He's like, this is a wand for my warlock activities. Nobody better cross me now that I have access to my most powerful weapon of a wand. And everyone was like, what? Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment emo down below. That's the secret word of the day. I'll try and heart as many comments as I possibly can that say emo. And then also, if you want to support the channel, watch a bunch of these videos in one sitting. I call it binge watching. So if you're sitting down, maybe playing video games or trying to go to sleep or something like that, watch like 10 videos in a row if possible. I know it's a big ask, but if you do so, please leave a comment down below. I'll heart it and even shout you out, as on screen right now, shouting out some people who are supporting the channel and telling me about it. So yeah, thanks to these guys and you guys, and let's get right back to it. So fast forward a couple days into the week, and every single day, the Emo Kid's been doing weird things. So right now is a Wednesday. For context, they got there on a Sunday night. So this Wednesday night, Benjamin's kind of becoming like the side character for Ty. Like he's becoming like pretty close friends. And Ty and Benjamin are kind of like talking about the Emo Kid and being like kind of tracking the weird things he's been doing. But tonight is one of the weirdest things he's done. So once again, Ty and Benjamin have been noticing that the Emo Kid has been going outside every single time, like 15 minutes after they go to sleep. So Ty and Benjamin, they both get in bed, and when the lights are turned off, they wait about 15 minutes, and sure enough, the Emo Kid gets out of bed and walks down the steps. And he walks outside, and he walks to kind of this like big forest clearing. So Ty and Benjamin, they both walk over, and they both look up, and they look out of the window. And they're looking out, and they see the Emo Kid, and normally he just stands there blankly. But this time was different. He was getting to work. They saw the stick that he made in the wand craft whatever class, or the woodsmanship class. And he takes the end of it that isn't pointy, where you do the spell, and he puts it into the dirt, because he's standing in a pretty big dirt clearing, and he starts drawing this circle, this very big circle. And Ty looks over at Benjamin and is like, dude, what on earth is going on? Like, what is this kid doing? And Benjamin's like, dude, I have no idea. And they look at it, and he's drawn a complete perfect circle around him. And then he steps out of it. And then he starts making lines within the circle. He goes from the top of it, down, up, down, across, up. He's made a perfect upside down pentagram. And if you don't know, that's basically like a sign of like ship or the something. So at this point, right, Ty and his friend are freaking out. They're like, oh my God, he's trying to like summon something. And sure enough, the emo kid starts like waving his wand around in these weird directions and starts like spinning around in a circle and making these like weird movements. And if TikTok was around, I bet Ty would have been like, bro, is he trying to do a TikTok dance or something? But anyways, Ty and Benjamin are watching as the emo kid, after making the upside down pentagram, just starts waving it around and starts speaking, like, because they crack the window was cracked open a little bit, and they start hearing like some weird okay, maybe it wasn't as goofy as that, but he was kind of talking these like weird tongues or whatever. And that's when they heard the light flick on. Not in their room, because they would have seen that. They heard the light flick on in the middle cabin. The middle part of the cabin, that is where the camp counselor lived. He must have heard or must have felt like some kind of disturbance or something, because they see the emo kid grab his wand and sprint out of there, and sprint so quickly he goes to the back room. And that's when like Ty and Benjamin are like, oh my God, he's sprinting here. So they quickly jump into bed and are, you know, when, I don't know if you guys did this, but like when you were up later than you should and your mom is about to run into like open the room, and you just jump into your bed and then you just stay super still. That was them. Like, it doesn't matter if you're sprawled out in a weird position, you're staying as still as possible. So they jump in, they're super still, and they watch as the door opens and the emo kid runs in and runs up to like the second bunk and just sits in there. And that's when like they see, like, literally 10 seconds after the emo kid gets into his bed, they see the light flicker on. And the camp counselor, who's for cabin B or whatever, walks in and is like, hey, I saw something out there. Any of you guys go out there? And like, you know, everyone's pretending to be like, what? Like they just woke up. The emo kid is really pretending to be like, what? I don't know what's going on, bro. And obviously Ty and Benjamin, you know, they're trying to like pretend like they weren't up watching the whole thing. And the kid on the very top of like Ty just is still completely asleep. So counselor's like, all right, whatever. He's like, all right, well, remember, it's a punishable offense if you guys leave the cabin during night. Like, you will be forced to go back home, and you don't want to miss the fun retreat we're doing this weekend. And they're all like, all right. They're like, yeah, it wasn't us. I don't know what it is. And that's when the camp counselor is like, what? And he looks outside the window, and that's when he sees it. He's like, stay here. And he goes outside, and they all watch as he walks outside, and he sees like the upside down pentagram like drawn into the circle or whatever, drawn into the dirt. And he's just looking at it. And he takes out like his iPhone 4, because it was like 2015 or whatever. And he takes a photo of it with like flash, takes another photo, steps back, takes another photo, and everyone else pretends to be asleep as they go back in. Next day rolls around, and they're walking to their first activity from breakfast. And Ty and Benjamin happen to be in the same group. And Ty's like, dude, the emo kid's insane. Like, that was ridiculous last night. And Benjamin's like, I've never been more freaked out besides the first night, bro. Like, this kid's insane. And at this point, they start talking about the camping retreat. So I mentioned this like a couple minutes ago when the camp counselor said, you guys don't want to miss the special fun camping retreat we're doing. So they stayed out in cabins. But part of the wilderness camp, whatever, at the very end of it, at the very, like, the last Friday night to Saturday, they hike out kind of farther out into the woods. They bring like camping equipment, and they kind of like camp out like that. So both of like Ty and Benjamin were a little bit worried, because that basically meant that they were going by group, and they were going to be out in the woods in tents by themselves with the creepy emo kid. So anyways, let's just fast forward to that day. It's Friday, and everyone is kind of packing their little bags, and the camp counselor for each group packs their like supply kit, medical supplies, radio, the food that they're going to be eating. And he's like, all right, everyone grab like groups of 2 grab a tent. And so sure enough, people pair up, and Benjamin and Ty are together, and they grab this tent, and they start walking over to the campsite. And Ty and Benjamin are like, Benjamin was like, dude, I heard that like, you know, there's only like enough tents so that like we have to pair up with someone. And he said, I heard that it's random. I heard that we don't get to choose who we pair up with. Ty's like, dude, that's insane. We already have friends. I get in the beginning them assigning us stuff, but like we know people now. This is the last day. Like, why would we need to bunk with someone random? And Benjamin's like, dude, I don't know if that's true. That's just what I heard. So eventually they get to the campsite. Anyways, so they get to the campsite, right? And, you know, they set up their kind of like, they sit around a bunch of logs. So they like light a little fire and they have like baked beans in a can or something. Then they also go out and they kind of like clear the land to put down the tents. They all set up a bunch of tents in the group of 2 that they carried it over in. And Ty at this point is thinking, all right, we're good because I'm going to be with Benjamin because, I mean, we're in groups of 2 already. Why would they need to reassign us groups? And so once again, they were asked back to the campsite, or not the original campsite, but the little campfire they made. It's getting kind of late, and the camp counselor's like, all right, guys, time for me to assign you your bunk mates or your camp tent mates. And Ty in his head is like, no. So Benjamin and so-and-so, so-and-so and so-and-so. And you know when there's like that one guy you don't want to be with or something like that, and like you're being assigned in a list, and you don't hear your name, but you also don't hear his name, and the number of combinations starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and you start freaking out. Well, this is what was happening to Ty until he realized that he was doomed before, you know, the words were even said, because the camp counselor went through the entire list, but he didn't say Ty's name or the emo kid's name. And that's when the camp counselor said, Ty and the emo kid, obviously said his real name, but you know what I mean. And Ty was just like, oh, I'm not going to make it tonight. I'm not going to survive. I better write some some letters to my mom saying I love you because I'm not making it tonight. Oh my God. And Benjamin is just staring at him and afterwards walks up to him and says, hey, if you need help, we got to come up with some kind of signal. So Ty's like, okay, I'm going to I'm just going to run out of there, and I'm going to run over to, no signals, no nothing. I'm running over to your campsite if anything happens. And Benjamin's like, all right, that's totally fine, man. So anyways, Ty goes up to the emo kid's like, so, looks like we're bunking. And the emo kid is like, interesting. And Ty's like, yeah, man. He's like, well, I guess you're one of my more favorite mortals that I know. And Ty's like, yeah. So they both put down their sleeping bags in this kind of very cramped tent, and Ty's just sitting there like, okay, and they have this kind of light, and it's like one of those battery powered lights, and the emo kid's like, good night, Ty, and turns it off, and Ty's like starts completely freaking out. He's like, okay, I can't see anything, but we're okay. And that's when he hears the emo kid stand up. And Ty's like, no. And the emo kid is standing above him. And he's like, all right, well, maybe I should just accept my destiny. And that's when the emo kid, instead of striking him over there with a rock or something, just leaves. He opens up the camp tent and walks out. And Ty's like, what? So Ty kind of gets up and he looks out and he sees the emo kid. And the emo kid is standing, or is crouching on all fours, and then he starts howling to the full moon. He's like, "Hey!" But it's a really weird howl, and Ty's just like, what? And that's when he hears the kind of the camp counselor who's with us be like, hey, who's that? You're not allowed to be outside your campsite. And you just see the emo kid go, oh, and just sprints towards the tent. So Ty jumps back into his bed, and the emo kid, who's not very coordinated apparently, instead of jumping through the wind, the open flap, jumps right through the tent. So breaks right through the tarp of the tent, cracks the entire thing. The entire thing comes collapsing down, and Ty just has his eyes closed as the entire tent falls on top of him. And that's when you hear all this yelling, and the camp counselor's like, what's going on over here? Are you guys all right? And he just starts rummaging through all the rubble and stuff. And Ty starts getting up, and he pushes the stuff off of him. The camp counselor was like, was that you out there doing those howling noises? He's like, no. And then sure enough, the emo kid is just standing there and he says to him, you wouldn't understand what I was doing And the camp counselor was like, I told you before that you can't be leaving your tent during the nighttime. Like, after I said goodbye, you were supposed to go to your tent and not leave it. You were out there. And he's like, I was performing a protection ritual. And camp counselor was like, what? I was performing a protection ritual so that everyone would be safe at night from the demons and ghosts of the underworld. Camp counselor was like, what? And at that point, right, they just realized, okay, this is a lost cause. And at this point, the worst thing was that there was nowhere for them to sleep because the camp was completely destroyed, or the tent was completely destroyed. So the camp counselor was like, fine, you two, bring your sleeping bags. You can sleep in my tent. So the three of them are kind of like crushed in there. And eventually the camp counselor is like, all right, you two are in here. I'm going to sleep outside. No shenanigans. So it was the most uncomfortable sleep of Ty's entire life. But eventually, the day is over. He gets up. You know, they start packing up their stuff, and they're walking back to the campsite. And that's when Ty meets up with Benjamin and is like, dude, like, you're not going to believe it. And Benjamin's like, I heard a lot of yelling. Are you okay? So Ty tells him the story. He's like, dude, that's insane. So anyways, they get back, and Ty actually had a really good time at the camp, minus the emo kid, like, cringe fest or whatever. Eventually, Ty's parents come to pick him up, and Ty's mom's like, man, you gotta tell me all about it. Like, how was it? Ty's like, it was really good, but it's quite a story. And so for the entire, 2-hour car ride back, Ty tells them the entire story, and let me just say,
Click on the video on
quite a
screen right
story.
now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a great day, because today we have a story of probably one of the cringiest emo kids on planet Earth. I'm not even kidding. This is probably one of the craziest stories I've received, so sit back, relax, grab something to eat, grab something to drink, and let's call today's subscriber who submitted this story. Let's call him Oliver. So this all happened back in the good old days of 2014, 2015, when goth, emo, all that type of stuff was super popular. And by the way, if you dress goth or emo, I literally don't care. That's a totally fine style. As long as you aren't an emo kid like this kid, you're totally cool in my book. So anyways, right, this all started when Oliver and his friends were in the mall, and this was way back in the day, and Oliver and his friends were just kind of walking around in the mall. They were trying to figure out something to do. I mean, it was a Saturday, so I mean, who knows, they were trying to figure out something that they wanted to do, and Oliver's friend was like, hey man, do you mind if we stop in Hot Topic? Hot Topic is a t-shirt store that sells sells a lot of different types of t-shirts, a lot of trending stuff, a lot of and since, emo and goth was kind of trending at the time, they sold a lot of shirts and attire that really fit with that outfit. You got black t-shirt that says society, and then you got a spiky collar. I don't know, man. But anyways, right, Oliver and his friends stopped in Hot Topic, and Oliver wasn't really, there to, buy something, so he was kind of just walking around and chilling, and he accidentally bumps into the emo guy, or the emo guy. I'm introducing a new guy, emo kid, whatever, we'll call him the emo kid. So anyways, right, this kid turns around, and he's got this, this black t-shirt on. He's got a spiky collar choker type thing. He's got black pants. He's got black shoes on. His hair is black and it's slicked down. So he has these massive, really weird bangs where you can't even see his face. He's like, watch where you're going, punk. And Oliver's like, sorry, man. He's like, wait, I know you, dude. You're from my school. And Oliver's like, yeah, I think we're in class together. No, I've seen you around, though, because Oliver's starting to remember this one time he saw this really weirdo-looking kid who was like, man, no one gets me. And so sure enough, the emo kid, is like, bro, I don't think you bumped into me on purpose. I think you were coming for me and my kind. And Oliver's like, dude, what are you talking about? And the emo kid's like, bro, I think we both know that you just hate the emo kids. And two other emo kids appear out of thin air. And they were like, what's this kid talking about? What's going on over here? And the emo kid's like, yeah, this kid over here goes to my school and he hates me on purpose. And he just bumped into me and it was crazy. He can't do this to us, man. And the other emo kid's like, yeah. Well, what do you have against the emo kids? And at this point, right, Oliver was literally just standing in a Hot Topic t-shirt store because his friend wanted to buy a t-shirt. And Oliver's head, he's like, bro,
please hurry up and get that t-shirt. But he says, look, I accidentally bumped into this kid, like this guy. I'm sorry. It's not on purpose. You can trust me. And the emo kid's like, oh, no, dude, I totally know what, like, a bump on purpose would feel like. That one felt so purposeful. Like, I literally felt the purpose in the bump. It was crazy. And Oliver's like, dude, what do you mean by that? And the emo kid's like, are you getting aggressive with me, son? Do you want to fight me, son? Oh, he wants to fight me, dude. And at this point, Oliver's like, all right, guys. All right, boys, have a good day. Oliver goes over, finds his friend. He's like, dude, I met a bunch of weirdos. They want to fight me. I literally bumped into them. And like Oliver's friend's like, all right, dude, like that's like, oh, all right, we'll go. That's fine. And then Oliver's friend sees this like pack of like emo kids walk over, and Oliver's friend starts cracking up. He's like, bro, you can't seriously think, wait, these kids want to fight you? Dude, they're not going to do anything. They can probably barely walk here without fainting. And the kids are like waddling over. And the emo kid's like, don't think I forgot what you did, man. And so sure enough, right, Oliver and his friend, they buy the t-shirt, they leave. And, Oliver is telling his friends all about what's going down. His friends like completely laughing. They find it hilarious. And that's because Oliver thinks to himself, well, I'm never going to see these kids again. It doesn't really matter, right? Oh my God, was Oliver wrong? Because this started one of the most insane sagas that Oliver has ever had in his life. He was telling me that like he's experienced a lot of crazy things, but the story that is to follow what just happened is probably the craziest thing that ever happened to Oliver ever. So skip forward a week. An entire week has passed by, actually a little bit more because it's not a weekend. Oliver, it's a Monday morning. He gets up. He's like, oh my God, I gotta go in. So, he gets up, eats breakfast, gets on the bus. It's just like, oh my God, man, is it already Monday? Dude, that's freaking crazy. He gets into school and he's walking to his locker, all kind of like half awake or whatever. He has his backpack on. And he gets to his locker. And that's when he realizes that something's wrong. Because his locker is like halfway open. And like the lockers didn't have locks on them. But Oliver always like closed it by the end of the day. He'd grab his backpack and he would shut it all the way and it would close. And he noticed it was halfway open, which was weird because no other lockers were halfway open. I mean, some were, but they were very obvious. The people just left them open or whatever. And Oliver goes up to his locker and he opens it very close, like very, very slowly. And that's when he sees a little something in the background. He sees a little something in the very far back of his locker. So he gets his iPhone 3 or whatever, opens up his flashlight app, or I remember when that was a thing, shines it, and sure enough, he sees in the back of his locker in black marker, he sees a skull and crossbones scribbled on there, and then said, "You're next. Fear us." And at this point, Oliver is like, what? Huh? What? What? What's going on here, boys? Why? And so sure enough, Oliver hits up his friend. He's like, bro, did you do this? And his friend's like, dude, no, I'm not cringe. and Oliver's like, all right, well, if it wasn't you guys, well then who could it, that's really weird. And remember, the whole emo experience, the emo kid thing that happened at Hot Topic over a week ago was a pretty crazy experience, but at that time, Oliver had completely forgotten. Because don't forget that the main emo kid actually went to Oliver's school, and Oliver recognized him from being in the hallways once. So Oliver didn't even think for a second, he didn't even think of the emo kids when he was like, all right, who's probably going to be the one, who did this? Who's most likely that probably went through and was trying to mess with me or whatever. And Oliver just didn't even think of the emo kid. So give it a couple days, right? A couple days later, Oliver is kind of towards the end of school. And most people are gone, Oliver's just waiting. It's after class. Oliver's waiting to go be picked up. But then he's like, oh shoot, I forgot my backpack. So, I don't know, that happens or whatever. So Oliver's walking back to his locker. And this is where it's actually a little creepy because he starts walking back to his locker and it's he looks at his locker and it's just scribbled in black pen. Nothing else, no other lockers. It says his locker has all these black X's all over them. And it's done in Sharpie or whatever, but he's like, okay, whatever, this is kind of serious. Because, like, he looks around and no one else is around him. So this is, like, kind of weird now. He's definitely feeling kind of uncomfortable at the moment. So he goes in there and he goes to grab his backpack. And he sees a piece of paper sitting there. So he grabs the piece of paper. He realizes it's a letter, but he doesn't read it yet. Because he grabs his backpack, he gets on out of there, and he goes out of the school. And now he's standing where, you know, people are getting picked up or whatever. And this is where he feels more comfortable to actually read the letter. So he opens up the letter, and it says, I'm going to try and read it in the emo kid voice.
Don't think you could have gotten away from us, man. The emo kids have not forgotten your sins, and you shall pay for them. Next time, don't mess with the popular loners ever again.
And then it had this, like, weird, like, raven at the bottom. And apparently that was, like, the emo guild crest or whatever, dude. I don't know. But at this point, Oliver's like, oh my God, it's the freaking emo kid that I bumped into at the Hot Topic. That's the kid behind all this or whatever. So he's like, all right, I'm just going to, next time I see him, I'm just going to tell him to leave me alone. And I'm just going to scare him. He's full of nothing, right? He's full of nothing. And so sure enough, the next day rolls around and he gets on the bus. And once again, Oliver isn't even really thinking about the weird stuff going on, but he gets on the bus and he's half awake. And he's looking, you know how you walk down the bus and you can see all the people sitting in the seats? He looks in the way back and he's like stops for a second because he sees something that's very reckoned that he remembers. Long black hair, bangs in the front of the face. And he's like, oh my God, wait, that's the emo kid. And all of a sudden he hears from the back of the bus, well, hello there, Oliver. Why don't you sit next to me? And Oliver's like, how does he know my name? Whatever. And Oliver's like, all right, well, this is going to be actually a great opportunity for me to sit down and kind of like scare this kid and tell him to like basically to piss off, right? So Oliver gets to the back of the bus and he sees the emo kid and he sits there. He's like, dude, I don't know what's up with you, but why do you keep doing weird things to my locker? And he says, and the emo kid's like, so you've noticed that the emo guild has noticed your presence and has decided that you are mortal enemy number one. And Oliver's like, what? The emo kid's like, so you must not know about the emo guild. Well, someone so ignorant as you probably would have known that anyways. But anyways, the emo guild is the guild of all the emos in our area. They get together, and since everyone's a hater and part of society, we've decided to guild together and join our forces. And if anyone strikes one of us, we will all combine and strike them down 20 times as hard. And Oliver's like, all right, man, well, you struck pretty hard at the locker. Scared me, got me good. And the emo kid's like, nice try, Oliver, if that even is your real name. Oliver's like, yes, that's my birth name. And he's like, whatever, you don't even know what's coming next. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video and are busy doing something, comment emo down below. I'll try and heart as many comments to say that. Then also, if you want to support the channel, binge watch these videos while you're doing something. And let me know in the comment section down below what you're doing while binge watching these videos. Binging the video supports the channel so much and I appreciate it. And also, I'll be shouting out random people who tell me how they're supporting the channel, like these people on screen right now. Thank you. Let's get back to the story. So eventually the bus gets to the bus stop where the school is. Oliver gets up and the emo kid's like, wait, you must know that you are facing off against the emo clan and you will not have any idea of what's coming. And Oliver's like, all right, can I at least get your name so I can know who I'm facing off against? Fine, I guess that is only what a respectable duelist would do anyways, so fair. I am Sir Ben, the great wizard Archduke Nemesis Leonardo DiCaprio III. And Oliver's like, so your name's Ben? Yes, whatever, that is my mortal name. And Oliver's like, okay, Ben. It is Ben, and he's like, all right, I don't need to hear it. Fine. Okay. Bye. So Oliver walks away, and it's like, all right. Oliver's thinking on this. He's like, you know what? These kids are weird, and they have way too much time on their hands, so I don't really want to see what, like, weird concoction of weird stuff they decide to put in my locker, or whatever they decide to do. I don't want to see it. So you know what? I'm going to strike back. I'm going to figure out everything about this Ben kid, and I'm going to have a little ammunition to, I'm not going to say blackmail him, but blackmail him. Yeah, it just is what it is, man. I'm sorry. Like, they're playing dirty. I'm playing dirty. Sorry. So sorry. If you don't hate the player, hate the game. Right? So anyways, Oliver immediately starts hitting up all of his friends. He's like, do you know this Ben kid? They're like, no, I don't know this Ben kid. One kid's like, yeah, he's a weird emo kid. He's like, all right, what do you know about him? He's like, he's weird and emo or something. And Oliver's like, you're no help. So anyways, Oliver eventually talks to his friend Stormy, who's a girl. And, Oliver's like, hey, sorry, I'm trying to find, this weird kid is like trying to like beef with me. I just want to find dirt on him. Do you know this kid, Ben? Stormy's like, oh, do I know Ben? And Oliver's like, yes, you know something, let's go. And he's like, please tell me whatever. Stormy's like, well, you know Kate, right? And Ben's like, no, not Ben, sorry. Oliver's like, yeah, I know Kate. So Ben, the emo kid guy that's like being weird with you, is what Stormy's saying, has a massive crush on Kate. And Kate knows it. And, Kate hasn't necessarily said no to him yet because he hasn't made any advances. And Oliver's like, thank you. That's all I need. Can I talk to Kate for a second? And, Stormy's like, yeah, sure, like whatever. So eventually, Stormy sets Kate and Oliver up. And Oliver's like, hey, please. He explains the entire situation. And Kate's like, look, Ben, the emo kid, has been weird to me for a very long time. Like, I used to think it was this funny, but he's weird. He keeps looking at me. He keeps professing his love to me. You know what? I'll team up with you. We'll take him down. Oliver's ecstatic at this point. So basically, they come up with a plan. If next time the emo kids strike, Oliver is going to find the emo kid and ask for, like, mercy. And if the emo kid doesn't give him mercy, and, Oliver doesn't actually expect him to give him mercy, basically, assuming the emo kid doesn't give him mercy, Oliver is going to say, well, I'm going to give you one more chance to give me mercy. And the emo kid's he's going to be like, what do you mean? Like, I have the upper ground. And then all of a sudden, Oliver is going to, like, pull out, like, basically text message conversation with Kate, which is going to be fabricated, about how, like, he knows someone perfect for her, and how, like, Oliver's friend, who we'll just call Bob. No, we're going to call him, what should we call him? Oliver's friend Ryan is like perfect for Kate. And the truth is Kate has like a crush on Ryan. And Oliver's basically going to say, hey, if you do anything else, I'm going to set up Ryan and Kate. And Kate already thinks Ryan is super attractive, and Ryan is down to get with her. And I have all the power to connect them. And you will never be able to date Kate. You'll never be able to date Kate ever again. And this will destroy the emo kid. So anyways, after this plan is done, once again, Oliver is walking back to his locker. And sure enough, once again, and he reported last time all the X's and stuff, and the janitor came and cleaned it up. And he goes to the locker, and sure enough, there is this like crudely drawn black raven, and then it says emo guild underneath it. And so, Oliver's like, all right, they struck again. Let's see if this kid's on the bus. So the next day, Oliver is really hoping that the emo kid takes the bus again, because this would be kind of difficult to go and find him. But sure enough, the emo kid is sitting in the back with his like weird, super long hair that's like covering his entire face. He's wearing like, he has this like robe today, this like black cape or whatever or something. And he's sitting there and he's like, Oliver, do you want to sit next to me? And because I don't know if you've seen your locker yesterday, but it has a little, I don't know, it has a little something on it. And Oliver's like, yes, Ben, I know. I was wondering if we could talk about, maybe a surrender, my surrender. And the emo kid's like, I knew it. I knew you were weak. I knew you were sad. But no, I will not show you mercy. I will just not do it. It's not in the way of the emo guild. Because you're a part of society. Freak society, bro. And Oliver's like, look, Ben, I'm going to give you one more chance to reconsider. And the emo kid's like, what? Give me a chance to reconsider? You're asking me for my forgiveness. I will not reconsider anything. And Oliver's like, fine. I know about Kate. And the emo kid's like, what? You know about my love? I can barely keep a straight face doing this. Anyways, emo kid's like, you know about my love? And Oliver's like, yes. In fact, I know more than that. You know Kate, right? Well, I have a friend, Ryan. He's a good-looking man. And I was talking to Kate, and I was talking to her about Ryan. And I just asked her, what she thought. And Kate confessed to me that she really thinks Ryan is so attractive. And you know who's my best friend? Ryan. You know who Ryan finds attractive? Kate. And with a snap of my fingers, Mr. Emo Man, I could set the two of them up. And you will never have a chance to date her for the rest of high school or middle school. Or I don't care, right? For the rest of high school. And I mean, it's not like that Ben, the emo kid, was going to date her anyways, but the emo kid was like, no, no. What do you want, you cruel beast? You cruel monster. I don't know why you put my love up like that. You can have whatever you want. You can have my riches. You can have my gold. You can have my Twilight limited edition series book signed by the author himself. You can have anything of mine. And Oliver's like, dude, I just want you and your weirdo friends to stop. Emo kid's like, the emo guild is not gonna like this. They'll know that I have a weakness and I might be kicked out of the emo guild. No. And Oliver's like, all right, well, if they're not gonna stop, if your buddies aren't gonna stop, you and your weirdos aren't gonna stop harassing me, well then, you know what? Kate and my friend Ryan are gonna be sitting in a tree. Emo kid's like, no, don't say it. Don't say it. K-I-S. No. S-I-N. No. G. No. Fine. Oliver, you cruel monster. You can have whatever you want then. Fine. Well, fine. We'll do it. No, nothing more will happen. I'll tell the emo guild that you surrendered to me and I was merciful because that's part of the emo guild. And Oliver's like, didn't you say that was the opposite? It doesn't matter, Oliver. I'm trying to work with you, idiot. And Oliver's like, okay, you know what? If this is true, Kate and Ryan, they're not going to be like that. But just so you know, if you or one of your little emo friends do anything to me, anything, Kate and Ryan are a thing. Emo kid's like, fine, you drive a hard bargain. I'll call off the attacks. And from that point on, Oliver has never received another emo style, I don't even know if you could call it an attack, but he never received weird stuff in his locker or weird carvings of the emo guild or anything like that. And he lived happily ever after.
Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it.
Today I got a story time for you guys about probably one of the weirdest, strangest emo kids to ever exist. So yeah, I don't know, get something to eat, get comfortable, subscribe if you're new, and let's call today's subscriber who submitted the story, let's call her Claire. So this takes place during Claire's class, right? During school, she was in class, and there's this boy that Claire was talking to, and she kind of liked him, right? Hey man, it happens, life happens. Let's call this guy Ben, because I'm not creative, man. There's also another girl in Claire's class, and we're just gonna call her the emo girl. And Claire didn't know this at the time, but she really did know this. She really got to know this pretty soon, but at the time, she didn't know that the emo girl had a massive crush on Ben, right? And part of me feels for the emo girl a little bit, like, I've definitely been in situations where in middle school I had a crush on this girl and she was obviously talking to another guy that would have definitely gotten her. Like that I was not the one for her, some other guy was. It sucks, man. It really does. I'm not going to say it doesn't. However, it doesn't justify the actions that you'll see in this video, which are pretty crazy. But anyways, right, so this all started one day when Claire was talking to Ben. And she was sitting there, she's talking to Ben, and it kind of seemed like Ben was going to like her back, and he was very engaged talking to her, like they were flirting a lot. And this is when, Claire, kind of spaced out a little bit. When you're looking at someone and then you kind of space out a little bit and you look at all the stuff behind them when your focus of vision kind of changes and shifts. So she kind of spaced out a little bit and looked behind Ben, and she very briefly made eye contact with this emo girl in her class. If you dress emo, this video is not against you. I think the style is totally fine and I like you either way. As long as you don't act like this emo girl, then you're totally fine. So basically, right, this girl had super long, dyed black hair. She was a natural, a brunette, a year ago, but then she dyed it all black. She wears all these goth skull rings or whatever, and it's kind of the style, you know what I mean.
And sure enough, this emo girl that Claire doesn't really talk to just because they were never really friends is just staring into like the pits of her souls, dude. Like the pits of her souls, staring into like I don't know what I'm trying to say. They were just like deeply staring at her, very, very kind of like angrily. And Claire quickly breaks eye contact because like, I don't know, man, she's not trying to like, she's just like, I'm not engaging with this. Like, let's hope that's a coincidence. Claire completely forgets about that and goes back to talking with Ben, right? And so sure enough, she's talking to Ben. She's like, flirting, whatever, right? Insert flirtatious conversation. And by the end of the conversation, the bell rings or whatever, and Claire leaves to go to either recess, lunch, another class. I don't know specifically what, but whatever it was, she leaves to go and do it. And the emo girl quickly follows behind her. Like, the emo girl was kind of far behind her in class, so the emo girl is, like, speed walking towards her. And Claire is kind of thinking, oh boy, I guess that eye contact earlier today was not an accident. It was not like a mistake. You know how you sometimes like, I know I'll do this. I'll like space out and not even pay attention and then realize I've been staring at someone for like 5 minutes. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I swear I'm just zoning out. And Claire was kind of hoping that the emo girl just happened to be accidentally staring into her soul through her pupils. But yeah, it was not an accident because the emo girl walks up to her, is like, hey, we gotta talk. And Claire's like, okay. And the emo girl is like, I don't know if you know this, but Ben is mine. He is my boyfriend, and I don't want to see you start talking to him. And Claire is really taken aback because at first she's like, oh, wait, is Ben dating someone? Like, I've talked to all my friends, and I'm pretty sure, because Claire made sure beforehand that, Ben wasn't dating anyone, so she could kind of like show that she was interested and not get rejected or whatever. And she was pretty sure that he wasn't dating anyone, and also if he was to date someone, Claire didn't really think that the emo girl was his type, but she was like, oh, so you're dating him? And the emo girl is like, well, not yet. But he's mine! Don't question my authority on this matter. You will suffer the consequences if you want to steal my boyfriend away from me. And Claire's just like, what do you mean, your boyfriend? So you guys are dating or aren't dating? She's like, well, not yet, but like super soon. Like, it's totally happening. And the thing is, Claire, you're just getting in the way of this. You're getting in the way of what is meant to be. I was performing a spell last night, and in my cauldron, I got, the spirits told me that Ben and I are meant to be together. And if you want to get in the way of spirits and magic, well then, by all means, go ahead and curse yourself. But I'm just letting you know that if you get in between Ben and I becoming boyfriend and girlfriend and soon to be husband and wife forever, then you will regret it. And the emo girl kind of hunches over and shuffles away. And Claire was just stunned, to say the least. She was kind of just at a loss for words at this point because it's not every day that, you're walking around and, the emo girl in your class, if you have one, comes up to you and says that, yeah, by the way, the gods of magic literally said that, that guy that you're talking to, that he and I are meant to be together and that we are actually boyfriend and girlfriend, even though we aren't. So stay away, bro. And then shuffle away. That's just not a day-to-day occurrence. I don't know, but maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But sure enough, Claire kind of was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be bullied out of talking to this guy that I like. I'm not going to be bullied out of it, man. That's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? And Claire's like, you know what? I think I'm just going to, keep talking to this guy. I think I just am. So the next day rolls around, and the only class that Claire has with Ben is the class that she has with the emo girl. So it's not like Claire could really talk to Ben a lot in other classes. However, Claire does talk to him every kind of lunch break. They get lunch together, and the emo girl doesn't eat lunch in the lunchroom, so I don't think she knows, or if she does, she's not trying to see that. Fair enough, I guess. But sure enough, Claire, Ben comes over to Claire because they kind of were talking every single day. I don't think the emo girl's ever spoken to Ben before, but they're about to be boyfriend and girlfriend, guys. Stop hating. No, but so Ben comes over just every other day, and Claire was a little bit weird, and Ben's like, "Are you good?" And she's like, "Yeah, actually, it's nothing. Sorry, I was just spacing out." In reality, Claire was like, Okay, this will be interesting because she notices the emo girl is intensely staring at her, right? Just looking at her so angrily. And as Ben walks over, and when Ben sits down, her brow furrows, and she lifts up her hand and like crunches it into a fist of rage, like that Arthur meme where it's like his fist is all balled up. Like so Claire was distracted by that, obviously, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm just spacing out." So Claire and Ben, they continue to talk, and they flirt a lot as always. Claire's kind of getting a feeling that Ben's gonna try and make a move at some point kind of soon, just by kind of the natural progression over the last couple weeks. And Claire's all for that, man. I mean, she was kind of like trying to put herself out there so that Ben would hopefully come around and ask her out or something. Sure enough, the bell rings again, and Claire is kind of like power walks out of there. She grabs her bag quickly. She's like, "Aha, Ben, I'll see you in the next one." Because Ben and her go to totally different directions, so it's not like she can walk with Ben. And so Claire is like power walking out of there because she's like, "All right, emo girl is coming for me, man." Like because Claire wasn't looking at the emo girl, but she could just feel it. Like she had kind of like the raid boss music going on. She's like, "Oh man, I gotta get out of here, dude. Final boss encroaching, man. Like I gotta get out of here." So she grabs her backpack, quickly like puts it on her shoulder and starts to like not sprint out of the classroom, man. Her teacher would have been like, "Stop running, stop it, stop." But sure enough, right now, the emo girl was just as fast and just as intent to be talking to Claire. And she comes up to Claire. She's like, "You didn't heed my warning. You didn't listen to me." And Claire goes, "Dude, I don't know you, but it doesn't seem like you and Ben ever talk. I don't think you're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. You threatening me with your magic powers or whatever is not going to make me stop talking to this guy, dude. Like, can you go away?" And the emo girl is like, "Fine, but just know that I will give you one last warning." And Claire's like, "Oh boy," kind of rolls her eyes or whatever. And the emo girl's like, "If I see you talking with him again, it is on sight." And Claire's like, "Bro, what? What? Huh?" And the emo girl's all like, "Stop laughing at me. It's not funny. It's serious. I will give you one last chance. And this is your final opportunity to cease your terrible behavior, or you, yes you, Claire, will suffer the consequences." And Claire's just like, "Oh my God, you can't, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Like there's no chance." So she's like, "Okay, thanks for talking to me. Is that all?" And the emo girl's like, "Yes, one last chance. Don't forget it. Don't you forget it. One last chance." And once again, emo girl scuffles off. Little spoiler, Claire does not listen to the emo girl. And the next day in class, the emo girl does something completely crazy. But real quick, comment emo down below if you want to heart in your comment, as that is the secret word of the day, and I will try and heart your comment to say thank you. And also, if you want to support the channel, binge watch videos, or just watch a bunch of videos after this one, or in your free time, when you're drawing, about to go to bed, playing video games, go watch one of the playlists. I got Emo Kid playlist, Spoil Kid playlist, and if you do, comment down below so I can personally say thank you, as it really does help. And also, profile pic army looking strong. So you thought that was it for the craziness from this emo girl, that going up and threatening that the evil gods of spells and magic and wizardry she will suffer the consequences. You thought that was bad? No. Pause, bro. You're not even close to what's about to happen, because the next day it rolls around. Okay, I keep saying that like that's something crazy. Oh no, the next day happens. Time is linear. Rah! But anyways, right? Next day rolls around. Claire goes into class. And she makes sure that she's talking to Ben, and she makes sure that the emo kid, or the emo girl specifically, is seeing this. And Claire's kind of like a little bit upset because she's like, "You know what? This girl is bossing me around. I'm not standing for it." So Claire decides that, she's just going to make a move. Like, she's going to make a move. So anyways, Claire is talking with Ben, and, she sees that the emo girl is at an angle where she can see both of them pretty clearly. And so Claire looks at the emo girl in the eyes. This is a little mean, I'm not gonna lie. However, it is kind of justified since the emo girl was like threatening to pull up or square up or like it's on site if you talk to him or talking crazy or whatever. So this is a little bit justified, not saying it's not mean, but Claire is kind of like, oh, Ben, like, tell me about you or whatever. And what Claire does is she puts her hand on like Ben's leg or whatever, kind of like as an indication of like, I like you. Don't go ahead and do this. Especially like you got to ask people first. Like you can't go around just putting your hands on people, bro. As the Connor Pugs endorsement, don't do this. But anyways, like, I mean, she already talked it, like either way she does it. And Ben reciprocates very nicely back. And Ben kind of like puts his hand on her chair, right? You know, when you're like in the classic movie theater scene where it's like you reach your hand behind them to like, I don't know, you know what I'm talking about. And the emo girl legitimately snaps, dude. She freaking snaps. And you're probably thinking she's gonna go up and put a spell on them, or she's gonna like go raw and like sprint to the bathroom to have explosive diarrhea. No, none of those things are true. You know what this girl does? When she said it's on site, she meant it. Because Claire, one moment, was like kind of relaxing in the company of her soon-to-be boyfriend, spoiler, Ben. In the next moment, she was on the ground. Do you know why? Because the emo girl freaking tackled her, dude. The emo girl got so angry at the sight of them, like, basically, they weren't holding hands, but they were, like, same level of, like, romantic intimacy as holding hands. She was so mad at that sight that the emo girl legitimately got up out of her seat, buckled her head down, sprinted like a D1 quarterback, and knocked Claire out of, like, tackled Claire, basically, and was like, and started hissing. So right now, Claire's on the ground, the emo girl is on top of her, Ben is sitting there in complete shock, like, what? And everyone in the class turns around, including the teacher. Because they were supposed to be like reading a book or something in pairs. None of this nonsense was supposed to be going down. So the teacher is just like, what's going on over here? And the emo girl is like hissing the entire time. Like, I told you it was on site. Stay away from my boyfriend. And Ben is just so confused. And Claire's like covering her face because the emo girl is like very faintly, but still trying to like claw at her. It's like, don't, like with their big, like, kind of like in Pokemon, like Meowth, or I forgot the cat Pokemon that like Team Rocket has. You know how that like it has scratch attack that does like -1 damage? That was kind of the equivalent of what like the emo girl was doing to Claire. So no damage was done, but it was very strange. And sure enough, Claire at the next moment feels the sensation of the emo girl leaving her body, like being picked up. So she opens her eyes and she sees the emo girl is literally being dragged away by the teacher and dragged out of the classroom. And Claire gets up and Ben looks at her with just this look of, huh? And at this point, Claire's like, Ben, I got some explaining to you. I got some explaining to do. And Claire explains everything that I just told you
Click on the
guys.
video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
Today I got a story of probably one of the craziest emo kids of all time, and I've told a lot of crazy stories, so strap in, subscribe if you like stories, and let's call today's subscriber, let's call her Luna. So Luna was a tennis player and was pretty good at tennis, and over the summer, her mom sent Luna to a tennis camp, and this story starts pretty far through the tennis camp. So the tennis camp lasted about 1 week long, and on the last day, which was Friday, all the parents would come and they would watch kind of like a tennis tournament of all the kids who were playing and learning how to play and getting better during the week. There would be a big tournament. They would have like, I don't know, a fake little trophy thing. But the main important thing was that there was a big tournament at the end of the week and all the parents came to watch. So this story starts on that Thursday. So this is the day before the last day, which is the big event. And this tennis camp took place at a college, so they had access to a college dining hall, and Luna and her two friends were walking, to go try and find a table, and Luna's two friends said, oh, look over there, or one of Luna's friends said, oh, look over there, there's a table. So Luna's two other friends, went over and sat down at the table. Luna said, I'll be right back, I'm gonna go get something. So Luna walks over to the dining hall, grabs something to eat, and is walking back. And while Luna's walking back, she's not really paying attention. Like, she's kind of like, I don't know, spacing out or looking on her phone, or for some reason, she's not paying full attention to her surroundings. So unfortunately, she bumps into this guy. And, the guy had a tray of food, and the food, honestly, it wasn't even that bad. Like, the food, sure, like a little bit got on his shirt, but it wasn't like the entire tray exploded all over his shirt and his clothes were soiled and ruined beyond repair. Like, yeah, dude, you got sprayed a little bit. That sucks, but it's time to move on. And Luna was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's so embarrassing. And like, she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I wasn't paying attention. And this kid, Luna's looking at this kid, and this kid is very clearly like an emo kid. And by the way, there's nothing wrong if you dress like goth or emo or whatever. It's a style, and I think a lot of my viewers have the style, and I don't personally do it myself. That isn't my style, but I rock with you if you do that. No hard feelings. However, if you're like this emo kid, bro, you got to change some things in your life. That's all I'm saying. Because this emo kid looks at Luna, looks her dead in the eyes, and then takes out a book. And Luna's like, what? And the emo kid, so he has this book in his hand, and Luna notices that there's like ancient hieroglyphics. Dude, my brain is not working right now. There's like ancient like letters and all these like symbols on the book. Basically, it looks like a wizard or witch book or something. And Luna's thinking to herself, all right, there's no shot that like that's actually like a wizard book or something. And the emo kid reaches into his back pocket and takes out a wand. So he opens up the spell book and he's waving his wand around. He's like, you have made a great enemy. You've made a great mistake bumping into me on purpose. And Luna's like, it wasn't on purpose, man. Like, I swear to you, like, I wasn't paying attention, and I apologize for that. I should have been paying attention. You're right. Like, that's on me. However, like, come on now. It was an accident. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what kind of nonsense doobly-doop you're doing right now. But he's like, silence, mortal. And he's like waving his wand around. He's like, hibbity-bibbity-bobbity-boo. I put something like super goofy, but like supposedly like, I don't know, wizard tongue or something. He's like, beepity boop, boppity bee. I'm like, okay, bro, like, let's calm down now. He's like, there, you've been cursed. And he slams the book shut with one hand, puts the wand back in his pocket, puts the book back into his backpack, which he was carrying around. Or I guess not a backpack. I guess it was like a tennis bag with a racket in it. And the emo kid walks off. And Luna is just standing there, just kind of like, what just happened? Like, can we just have like a little pause and a rewind of what just happened here? Because I don't think that like I really understood what was going on, because there's not a shot that actually just happened. So Luna goes back to the table with her two friends, and her two friends are like, what took you so long? And Luna's like, well, I actually have a very interesting answer that I bet you guys were not expecting. So Luna tells them the story, and they're like, one of them was just like, oh my God, that's crazy. The other one was like, dude, like, I know that kid. Like, I was in a tennis group earlier this morning. We're practicing forehands. I know that kid. He was so weird, bro. He was all like, okay, he wasn't like the other emo kid, bro. I'm just playing around. But he was like all like in the corner, hushed away. And when the coach like said to him it was his turn, he kind of like looked up at him and flicked his long dark hair back, kind of sighed, and then like, hit a forehand or something. They're like, that kid was super weird, but I had no idea that he was like that weird. Because there's a difference between being kind of weird and putting spells on people randomly. Like, that's just two different ballparks, bro. Quick comment emo down below if you want to heart in your comment. That is the secret word of the day, and I will do my best to heart as many comments as possible. I'm still getting over some complications with the wisdom teeth, and that might take a couple days. So please don't take it personally if I don't heart your comment. Do know I still really appreciate it. And also, shout out to all the people who've been binge watching my videos, like going through and watching a ton of them, either via the playlist or just through the recommended. Please let me know in the comment section when you're doing this so I can heart it and say thank you, and just know that you're supporting the channel more than you can even imagine at this point. I really appreciate it. Back to the story. It gets crazy. Anyways, right, so the next day rolls around, and remember that, Luna was at a tennis camp, and on the last day, which was the next day, because this whole spell incident happened on a Thursday, and the last day was on a Friday. So it was Friday, it was the last day,
And it was only like a half day because the parents would come and pick you up by the end of it. But anyways, right, there was a big tennis tournament and all the parents came to watch. So it was a pretty big deal. And so everyone was sitting around on the tennis court, and like the coach was standing at the very front. Everyone was sitting on the tennis court and he was reading off his list of like, all right, guys, like, thank you for all your hard work this week. And finally, it pays off. Just know that, win or lose, like, we just want to make sure you have a fun time and that, I mean, there can only be one winner, so you can't take it that personally if you don't win. The most important thing is to, like, good sportsmanship and have a fun time. And anyways, let me read off the pairings. So the pairings were read off, and Luna had a first round match where she played against some random guy or something, and she was better. She was probably one of the top 10 people at the camp. She didn't expect to win the tournament. I mean, the other people, were some people that were much better than her, and maybe they're having a bad day or whatever, but Luna just wanted to go out there, have some fun. So Luna's first round match went down really well. She won 6-2, 6-3, which is pretty solid win. If you guys know tennis, I used to play tennis a lot back in the day. That's why I can tell this story so well, at least the tennis parts. But anyways, things get really interesting when Luna goes into her second round match. The second round match is against a familiar character that you guys may or may not remember from earlier in the story. Yes, Luna is playing the emo kid, and let me just say that Luna did not forget the emo kid, but very well the converse is true too, because the emo kid had not forgotten about Luna either. Which means, yes, Luna versus the emo kid are about to play after the emo kid put a spell on her. And Luna's just looking at her opponent like, there's no way. There's no way, man. There's no way. So anyways, right, Luna, so when you play tennis, you normally, like, you will warm up with your partner and then you'll get into playing. But basically, you both stand on two sides of a net, just very quickly for people who don't know. And so Luna was standing on one side of the net, and the emo kid was, like, sulking over and kind of, like, was all hunched over and kind of, like, wandered over to the other side of the net. And so Luna walks up to kind of, like, the net in between, and the emo kid walks up as well. And Luna's like, all right, like, do you want to warm up? And the emo kid is like, insert maniacal laugh. I can't do a maniacal laugh right now. I just can't do it. So insert, like, the most evil maniacal laugh from, like, TV shows and movies you can think of. And dude, out of all the responses Luna was expecting, okay, Luna was either expecting like yes or no. It was a yes or no question. But out of all the responses that Luna was expecting, let me just say that a maniacal laugh was not on the list, dude. Like, it just was not on the list. And so Luna's kind of just thinking like, okay. And then the emo kid goes on to say, like, finishes up his maniacal laugh and is like, why would I need to warm up when I have the curse on my side? And Luna was just like, oh, so we're still going with that. We're not just gonna, like, because Luna was kind of thinking, all right, well, let's just put yesterday behind us because that was very weird. You know what? Luna gave this guy, the privilege of allowing, just to put that behind them. Because normally that's not a thing you just put behind, right? The fact that, like, you got a spell put on you, normally you don't just forget about that. But Luna was like, oh, okay, so no warm-up? And the emo kid said, yeah. Well, I mean, I have the curse on my side, so why would I need to warm up anyways? And Luna was like, all right, fine, I really gotta smack this kid. So Luna and the emo kid kind of go immediately into playing the match, and so Luna spins the racket, and sure enough, it is the emo kid's choice. So basically, in the beginning of tennis, you spin like heads or tails, and if you get it right, you can choose to serve or have the other person serve. And the emo kid starts maniacally laughing. So once again, insert the, like, maniacal evil villain laugh after the racket is spun. And, Luna's just kind of looking at him like, dude, what? And the emo kid is like, looks like my curse is already working. Insert again another maniacal laugh. And Luna's just thinking to herself, all right, bro, like, let's not jump to conclusions. There's a 50-50 chance that you were going to get that. Like, come on now. In the back of Luna's mind, she was like, well, I wonder if the curse is real, but her rational mind was able to take control and be like, all right, let's just smack this kid. I know I'm better than him. So sure enough, right, the emo kid starts serving. Basically, that's the way you start a tennis point. So the emo kid throws it up, bops it in,
And the serve is not that good. Serve is the hardest part of tennis, in my opinion. But the serve is not that good. And Luna, really wanting to have a good impression to kind of quote-unquote break the curse, winds up a massive forehand, completely crunches it, and obliterates the emo kid in the first point. Like, this ball is blazing off of Luna's racket and just smack right past the emo kid. The emo kid wasn't even, like, the emo kid plus the curse were not good enough to give him the reaction time to be able to deal with it. That's how bad this whole thing was, dude. So Luna looks up at the emo kid, giving her the dirtiest look ever, because I don't think the emo kid realized that Luna was one of the top players at the tennis camp, but he now realized that, you know, he was probably not going to win this. I think he walked in with a lot of confidence, also trying to scare her off because of, like, he remembered, oh, this is the girl I put the curse on. Odds are he would have, like, if this was a different person, he would have put a curse on them beforehand. Like, he would have walked up to the tennis net, whipped out his magic wand, and been like, blah, 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 you're now cursed or something, just to mess with their head. But since he's already done that, right, he was trying to use that as leverage. But anyways, the match continues, and the emo kid is getting destroyed. So at this point, the emo kid is down about 3-0, and they're only playing one set. Basically, in tennis, you play to 6 games. Whoever gets to 6 games first but win by 2 wins, and if you get to 6-6, you play a tiebreaker. But anyways, right, Luna's up 3-0, so absolutely smoking the emo kid. And it's Luna's serve, and she serves it in, and it is very clearly a winning shot. However, it was close, right? It wasn't like, it was clearly in, but it wasn't like in by so far that, like, you'd have to be, like, crazy to say that it was out, right? And the emo kid was like, out. Because if you don't know, you make your own calls when you play tennis. There's no umpire unless you're really good. And this was a lower level. I think in the final match, like the final match of their big tournament, they might have, like, someone, like, officiating it. But the emo kid was like, out. And Luna kind of looked at him like, no, dude, that wasn't. But, like, she can't really do anything. So they keep playing, right? And Luna continues to crush this kid. Continues to crush this fool, bro. Like, and the emo kid continues to cheat. However, the emo kid is really only cheating when it's, like, I don't know, kind of close. So if, like, Luna hits a really good shot, but it's kind of close, the emo kid will just call it out. And this is super frustrating to Luna because she's losing a lot more points than she needs to, but she's still winning. It's currently 5-1. So if Luna wins one more game, then it's over, right? She wins the match and, like, it's done with the emo kid. And at this point, right, I think other matches were kind of, like, getting on with, and, like, there were, like, more people were finishing. So parents were kind of, like, coming over and they were watching, and, like, more of the staff officials decided to watch this game just because less matches were being played because more people were winning and losing and kind of less matches were going on. So at this point, right, it was like 5-1 Luna, and there were a bunch of people watching at this point. And so Luna hits a shot that is very clearly a forehand winner. She hits it, smacks it. It's not even like the other ones that is kind of close. This one was so clearly in, it was in by like 2 or 3 feet. And the emo kid is like, that was out, by the way. And Luna's like, dude, like, I've been letting you have some really close calls recently, but that was so clearly in, I don't know how else to say it. Like, I give you the benefit of the doubt of all the other stuff, but that one was so clearly in, I can't let it stand. Luna basically slips, and she's like, nah, I'm done, bro. And the emo kid starts getting mad, and he's like, hey, like, you must respect my authority for point calling. And I guess technically you do, but then again, like, one of the camp people was watching the whole thing go down, and he started to pay more attention. So he's watching the emo kid, and the emo kid is getting so angry. So once again, they start another point. The emo kid takes that point, even though he's obviously losing, right? And Luna hits another shot, and the emo kid, it's not even that Luna's shot was good. The emo kid just shanks it into the net, like he completely misses it. And the emo kid was like, oh, by the way, your shot was so out. And it was so clearly in. And Luna's like, dude, you can't just call everything out when you lose. And at this point, the emo kid said, like, I'm going to do what I want because it's my authority and you have to deal with it. And at this point, right, the camp counselor had kind of noticed what was going on and was like, all right, I got to come in here. I got to put a stop to this. So the camp counselor, you know, starts to walk on the court and is like,
what's going on, guys? And the emo kid is so angry at this point because he's losing and he's just mad. And what? Oh my God, this is where the emo kid snaps. So the camp counselor is walking over to the emo kid and is like, all right, can you explain what's going on here? Like, it looked like that point was very clearly in. Why did you call it out? And when the camp counselor says to the emo kid that it was clearly in and asked him, kind of questioned his call, the emo kid, already super salty and already mauling super hard, being super angry already, just completely loses it. And he takes his racket and he goes, rah, and he whips around and he smashes it into the camp counselor. And like the camp counselor stumbles back and it's like, oh my God. Cause like the racket had hit his arm. It had like broken the skin a little bit. So it was a little bloody and it wasn't that bad. He didn't break anything. He didn't like hit a major artery or something. But the racket smashed into the camp counselor and like kind of like broke into his skin. So the camp counselor starts yelling like, are you crazy? Like, why would you do that? I was literally asking about a call and you attacked me. And there was another camp counselor watching the whole thing and he starts walking in. But before they could do anything, you see this woman with kind of like a side part, like it kind of like the Karen haircut. Maybe she was a nice woman, but I'm just describing what I was told. By the way, the story was sent into my Instagram. Go ahead and follow me there. It's in the description. Even if you don't want to send in the story, just follow me there. It makes me feel good. But anyways, this woman walks on the court. She kind of looks like a Karen. Maybe she's super nice. I'm just saying it how it is, right? Walks on, grabs the emo kid by the back of by like the scruff of his shirt and drags him away. And he's like, ma'am. He's like, ma'am, I was winning. The emo kid literally had the audacity, as he was being dragged off court for attacking one of the camp counselors, to say that he was winning. What? Yeah, so the other camp counselor, I mean, the one that got hit with the rackets, like, I got to get this checked up. Like, I think I'm fine, but, like, I just want to make sure that, like, it didn't break anything farther because his skin was kind of bloodied up. And the other camp counselor, the one that was not attacked by the emo kid, walked up and said, hey, Luna, like, sorry you had to deal with that. We're giving you the win, obviously. And so sure enough, Luna went on. Luna didn't win the tournament, but, did pretty well. And the emo kid was nowhere to be seen after he's dragged off by his mom. Presumably, his mom was like, all right, like, we're done. Grabbed him and just dragged him off.
Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
Today we get a story time of this emo kid who thinks that he's like legitimately a god, like he has godlike powers and can put spells on people, and the people must cower in fear before him and do exactly what he says because he thinks he's legitimately a god. I'm not even kidding. Strap in, subscribe if you like stories, and let's call today's subscriber who sent in this story, let's call him Drew. So this all happened one day when Drew and his mom decided to get dinner with his cousin and his cousin's mom, because it had been a long time since Drew and his mom had seen his cousin and his cousin's mom, and at this point, right, they just want to have a little bit of a reunion. It had actually been so long that it had probably been about 3 to 4 years since Drew has seen his cousin, and, while they're driving over there, because they were driving to some kind of, like, local restaurant or whatever, because Drew's cousin and Drew's cousin's mom happened to be in the area for some reason, Drew's mom was like, hey, Drew, by the way, I just want to let you know that your cousin, he's going through a little bit of a phase. And, Drew's like, what do you mean? And she's like, oh, he's kind of going through like a little emo phase right now. So be nice to him. He's being extra emotional nowadays. By the way, I've seen a lot of people in my comments say that they kind of dress emo or whatever. Dude, I literally don't care. Do what you want to do. You got my love and respect either way. As long as you don't act like this kid, then we're cool. But anyways, right, his mom's like, yeah, he's kind of going through a bit of an emo phase right now. And Drew was like, all right, like, that's cool, whatever. I'll, like, not be mean to him about that. Drew's mom did not say that he was also going through his Greek god arc or whatever, dude. Like, it's the funniest thing ever. But anyways, so they sit down, and Drew and his mom are looking in, and Drew sees Drew's cousin's mom, and she's like, oh my God, how's it going? Wait, Drew's cousin's mom would be Drew's mom's sister. Okay, that's much easier. So Drew's mom sees her sister, and it's like, oh my God, it's been so long. How's it going? They run up and they like hug each other. At this point, right, Drew is kind of curious to see what his cousin is looking like. And sure enough, right, he looks over, and Drew's cousin is like full, like super long, dark black hair, has like a black hoodie from Hot Topic, has like black socks, and has like a spiky chain thing
dog collar thing and has like long like black painted nails and has a little like in his mouth like he has like a lip ring or something, and he's like he comes up and he's kind of like shrugged over, hands in pockets, he's like, "What's up?" And Drew's like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" Last time, like, he was in his Minecraft arc, so completely different, man. So Drew was a little taken aback. But anyways, they all decide to go and sit down, and they're just talking about stuff. And it seems super normal at first. But here's the first interaction that Drew kind of realized was the beginning of, wow, this is going to be a lot weirder than I ever expected. Drew's cousin, like the emo kid, and I'm just going to call him the emo kid, just realized the emo kid and Drew's cousin are the same person from here on out. So anyways, right, the emo kid is sitting there, and the first kind of really weird thing he says is he refers to Drew, right, as a mere mortal. Like, it was like a totally normal conversation, and I think like the emo kid was like, looks at Drew and says, "How's a mere mortal like you faring in like school?" And Drew was like, okay, that's like kind of funny. Drew thought he was just trolling. He thought he was joking around. Drew really thought that like the emo kid had a pretty good sense of humor, and Drew was all for it. He thought it was pretty funny. So Drew kind of responded as normal. But the thing was that was kind of weird, and which kind of like, this was kind of the thing that made Drew think, oh my God, like, wait, this is actually something, is when the emo kid's mom, his aunt, I don't know why in the beginning I kept saying Drew's cousin's mom, his aunt. I'm kind of an idiot. I'm sorry, guys. Anyways, right, his aunt made this face, like a bit of a grimace, but also a smile. And Drew's like, why is she acting so weird? Like, the kid made a joke about me being a mere mortal. Little did Drew know the emo kid was in his God era or whatever, right? So, I mean, he meant it, bro. He legitimately meant that he was a mere mortal. But anyways, right, weird things just kept going on like that. Because all of a sudden, right, the emo kid was like, yeah, like when I was at school's going well for me because since, and he looks at them when he says, and has a bit of a smirk. And Drew in his head is like, yeah, I don't know, but he doesn't question any further. The emo kid's like, yeah, because, all my friends, they're bowing down because, they don't want to, they don't want to deal with my wrath, which I totally understand. And Drew's kind of just like in his head, like, all right, like I can't tell if this is a joke or not. If it's a joke, this bit of satire is pretty funny. But if it's not a joke, oh my God, like this is not going to be, this is super weird. But anyways, right, and he looks at Drew's cousin, or the emo kid's cousin's mom again, and she's grimacing again. And Drew in his head is like, wait a minute, something's off here. So the emo kid is like, I gotta go to the bathroom. He stands up and he like Sonic dashes away, or just like does the Sonic dash away, and like, the thing is, right, Drew didn't notice this before, but he has, like, a black cloak. Like, the dude has a Superman cape, but it's, like, all black and, like, emo and whatever. And Drew's just like, okay, this guy's he's a bit of an oddball, but at least he's a good guy. That turned out to be very incorrect. But anyways, right, Drew is just like, all right, man went to the bathroom. Like, I guess it's just going to be my mom, my aunt, and I talking. And the aunt, her face was like a forced smile for the entire conversation until Drew left and her face completely dropped. And she's like, guys, I'm so sorry. Like, I got to let you know something. And they were all just like, what are you talking about? And she was like, guys, like, I don't know how to explain this, but I guess the best way I can explain this is that, your cousin, and looks at Drew, is like, Drew, your cousin, he's in his God arc right now. And Drew's like, huh? What is a God arc? He's like, well, what do you mean a God arc? Like, what does that even mean, bro? And she's like, yeah, so basically, he thinks that he's a legitimate God and that his friends bow down because they know that he can smite them and put spells on him. And, he's been in his emo phase for a while, but it's evolved into an emo God phase. And Drew's just, like, looking at her like, wait, is the emo kid and my aunt, are they both on the same comedy bit? Is this like a sketch or something and he left to make it seem more believable? Because if that's the case, bravo, they're getting 5-star rating from me. But if this is legit, and it's seeming like it's legit, oh my God, I'm actually gonna like flip out, dude. This is the craziest thing ever. And then his aunt goes on to say, and he's very fragile emotionally or whatever, so if you guys can just please play along if he like makes a mention that he's a god. Please don't burst his bubble. I know it's a lot to ask and it's super weird, but please Just do it for me. He's gonna get through this phase and be normal soon. I hope. She has a long pause and then says, I hope. And like, you know, Drew's mom kind of cringes a little bit. She's like, oh my God. Like, thank God Drew is not like this and not in his God arc. Drew's mom wouldn't care if Drew was like an emo or something. But if he was an emo God phase, like, she would be like, bruh, like, my son, why? Why do I live? Just to suffer. And that's when Drew sees the emo kid / his cousin return from the bathroom. And you guys might be thinking, oh, he's not too bad, right? In his little God arc, because all he's saying is like his friends are immortals or whatever. No, it is about to get 1,000 times worse. It's something about the bathroom just turned him into like super evil vengeance God mode. Like it is about to get so bad. So strap in and prepare yourself. Real quick, comment emo down below if you want a heart on your comment. I'm going to try and heart as many of those comments as I possibly can because emo is the secret word of the day. And by the way, the channel's actually been doing really well because you guys have been binge watching the videos. And I tell you, best way to support the channel is to watch a bunch of my videos in a row and then comment about it. And you guys have been going like really above and beyond. Like here's just some people on screen who've been like legitimately watching like a ton of videos and like legitimately watching me and letting me know. Just so you guys know, this is the best way to support me and it's actually really shown and it's crazy and I just want to say thank you. So let me know if you're binge watching these videos in the comments. I'll try and heart them. I'll try and respond or something. And just know I really do appreciate it. And yeah, thank you for the watch time. The channel's going kaboom, and it's all because of you guys. Anyways, back to the story. So the emo kid comes back, and he sits down, and when he sits down, he wraps his cape around him like he's Dracula or whatever. And, you know, Drew's mom / the emo kid's, or Drew's aunt / the emo kid's mom, right, is like, hi, Drew, welcome back. And Drew, I don't know what happened to him in the bathroom, but he's like, he responds, he turns his head, he looks at his mom and he says, silence, mortal, do not speak to a god like me. And all of a sudden, everyone at the table goes silent and even the table next to them goes silent. And they were in the middle of a conversation. Like everyone like in the 5 mile like vicinity or 5 foot vicinity was like, paused and was just like, what did I just hear? And you know, the emo kid's mom gets like very like nervous, and she's very thankful that like she was able to tell you know, Drew and his mom like what's going on, but she was like, oh my liege, I am so sorry, please forgive me. And the emo kid is like, fine, I'll consider it, your punishment will be less then because of your repents, is that the word? Yes, because you're slightly forgiven, but your punishment will still happen. And he like whips up his cape again and like hides his face behind it. It's like, meh, 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 meh. At this point, Red Drew's like, oh my God, my cousin's gone off the deep end, bro. What? So anyways, right, the emo kid's mom starts having a conversation with Drew's mom, kind of just trying to like move past that super awkward moment of like her son saying, silence, mortal, you will be punished, like something just very strange like that. And she just tries to have a normal conversation, and she was doing pretty successfully as the emo kid was like evilly staring at them like through his black mascara, looking at them, and like I don't know, like Drew like looked at his cousin and like briefly, very briefly, Drew looked at his cousin, and the emo kid looks at him, makes eye contact, and goes, hiss! And Drew's just thinking to himself, what? What did I do? I looked at you. Like, why are you so much less normal right now? Because the emo kid was kind of weird before, as he was calling people his mortals, but for some reason, he just went off the deep end by the time he came back. Anyways, right, the waiter comes around and brings their food, and things are looking pretty good because, like, I don't know, Drew's like, all right, I don't need to interact with my cousin anymore. He's kind of weird. I can just focus on my food, and he can focus on his food, and then we can just get out of here. Life is good. And that was just unfortunately not the case, because when the food came down, the emo kid is like, all right, because he speaks for the first time since calling his mom a mere mortal and that she's going to be punished. And he says, all right, time for the sacrifices. And his mom is kind of like, oh boy. And Drew is just thinking in his head, like, what's going on here? And sure enough, the emo kid's mom is like, oh yes, my lord. And she takes like half of her food and scrapes it onto his plate. He's like, all right, who else? And Drew kind of is just so confused right now. He's just like, am I supposed to give this kid some of my food? Bro, Drew was hungry. He didn't have lunch that day. He was like tired. The food he got was really good. He's not trying to give this weirdo emo kid who thinks he's a god half of his food. That's just not what he's trying to do today, man. This is not what he's trying to do. And the emo kid is like, Drew, you will be punished if you don't give me half of your food. And Drew in his head is like, what? No, well, I'm not, like, I'm just not doing that. Like, at the end of the day, I hate to say it, or actually, I don't hate to say it, I love to say it. I relish in the fact that I'm saying it. I'm not giving him half my food. That's crazy. And, you know, Drew is just kind of looking around, and he makes eye contact with the emo kid's mom / his aunt, and his aunt just gives him a death stare, like, do it, my son needs you to do it. And so Drew's like, fine, whatever. And Drew, like, takes about a third of his food and puts it on the emo kid's plate, and he's so angry he has to do this in the first place. And the emo kid looks at him and says, peasant, this is not half of your food. This is only a third. And Drew in his mind is like, wait, he's going to actually nitpick me on this? I gave him basically half my food. Yeah, I actually gave him like a third. It's same thing, right? And the emo kid is like, you will be smited if you don't give me half of your food. And Drew is just thinking to himself, my God, what is wrong with my cousin? And Drew's mom's like, all right, honey, here you go, and scrapes off half of her food into the emo kid's plate. And he's like, does this like weird, like cringe laugh or whatever. And Drew's just like, you know what? This, fine. And so Drew scrapes the rest of his food, or the other half, or at least up to half of his food onto his plate. And he's thinking, whatever, like, I'm going to be hungry. I'll just grab food at home. I'm just trying to get out of this very weird meal. And the emo kid is like, smart move, peasant, smart move. You will not be smited now. And the emo kid starts like, he eats like literally one bite on his plate and it is done. He just doesn't eat the rest of it. And Drew is just like so angry at this point for everything that's happened, but now the emo kid demanded all of this food from everyone at the table, and he doesn't even eat any of it. So eventually, right, the waiter comes around and is like, oh, are you done? And points to everyone else who has finished their food because they're all very hungry with empty plates. And he points to the emo kid. He's like, oh, do you want me to box that up? And the emo kid says, no, I'm done, and hands him the plate. And Drew in his head is like, what? What? You didn't even eat it? Why? So Drew really just wants to get out of there. He's not trying to deal with this nonsense anymore. But the emo kid, like the waiter comes around and says, hey guys, do you want any dessert? And the emo kid is like, yes, I demand it. And the waiter's like, okay, I'll get the menus. And Drew in his head is just thinking to himself, bro, I'm trying to get out of here, this weirdo, but like I'm just trying to get away from the weirdo, right? But he demands the food, so I guess I'll get some ice cream, whatever, as long as he doesn't take all my ice cream or something. And so sure enough, they get the dessert menus, and they all order their ice cream. And the thing is, right, the parents don't end up ordering any of the ice cream, so it's just Drew and the emo kid that both get like 3 scoops of whatever flavor they like. And so sure enough, right, it is very quiet and awkward. Even the parents at this point have given up trying to make the situation less awkward, and they're just dead silent. And the whole table is dead silent. And it's just so weird and strange. And Drew just wants to go home, and he doesn't want to be here. But finally, right, a little light at the end of the tunnel, the ice cream comes, and Drew's already prepared that he probably has to give the emo kid half of his ice cream. He's like, whatever, man, like, this dinner sucks. I never want to see this guy again if he's in his god arc or whatever, right? I'm not trying to see this kid anymore, but fine, if this gets me home, and at least I'll have half a bowl of ice cream. 1.5 scoops is pretty good. I'll take it, whatever. It's not 3, but I'll take 1.5. So the ice cream comes, and the waiter puts the stuff down and says, enjoy, guys. And so Drew is getting ready to divide his ice cream in half. And the emo kid is like, all right, peasant, give me all your ice cream. And Drew looks at him and is like, all of it? Drew's like, oh, I thought you wanted half. He's like, no, for dessert, I deserve it all, or you will be smited. Do you want to be smited, peasant? And Drew looks at him, and he has that, like, eye twitch. You know when someone in the movies is about to go insane, their eye starts twitching? Drew legitimately told me over Instagram DMs, which is how he sent me the story, so follow my Instagram in the description, but also submit stories there. I'm going to have an email up very soon. Sorry for the delay. Give me a couple days, guys. But anyways, right, Drew has this eye twitch, and he's just looking at him, and he's about to go completely insane all over the emo kid. And he looks at the emo kid, and Drew says to him, no. In fact, I will not be giving you any of my ice cream. And Drew's aunt is like, and Drew's mom in his head, and Drew's mom doesn't really react, but she's like, all right, finally, my son is standing up to this weirdo kid who happens to be my cousin. I don't even care at this, or my son's cousin. I don't even care at this point, right? And Drew's like, yeah, I'm not giving you any of my ice cream. And Drew takes a massive bite. And the emo kid says, peasant, you will be punished either way for disrespecting my authority. But I will give you a chance to give me the ice cream before you get smited. And Drew's like, all right, bro, smite me. Yeah, have you ever smited anyone before? I don't know if that's the correct past tense. Have you ever smited anyone before, bro? I didn't think so. So yeah, go ahead and smite me. And the emo kid is like, very well. And he stands up from his table and he goes, yeah, and like stretches out both of his hands to do like Sith force lightning or something. Nothing happens. And Drew's like, all right, try again, bro. And he's like, he stands as like stretches out his hands. And once again, right, nothing happens. And the emo kid's like, peasant, I was giving you mercy, which is something I rarely give out. Give me the ice cream or you'll be smited for real. And Drew's like, all right, bro, smite me for real then. And the emo kid starts getting angry. And he's like, I was generous, I was kind, and you disgusting little peasant, you don't understand what you did. And the emo kid he goes over, reaches over, grabs Drew's bowl of ice cream, and chucks it across the room, and is like, if I can't have it, nobody can. And Drew's like, all right, man, I'm done. And he gets up, and he looks at his mom, he's like, Mom, we're going. And Drew's mom, instead of being like, oh no, just stay, we haven't seen your cousin and your aunt in so long, is like, all right, bet. And turns to her, Drew's aunt / her sister's like, hey, I'm so sorry, like, we gotta go, I forgot. And, Drew's aunt is kind of just like, yeah, I get it, man. And Drew's cousin, the emo kid who thinks he's a god, is like, no, you will pay. I'm gonna put a spell on you. Put a spell on you? What? So Drew walks out of the restaurant with his mom, and they get into the car, and Drew's like, Mom, can we not hang out with my cousin anytime soon, or at least until he's done with his god phase? I don't care about his emo phase, if I'm being honest, but can we at least wait till he's done with his god emo phase? And Drew's mom is like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that was a terrible experience. We're not hanging out with them for a while. I love my sister, but she's got to take control of her son.
Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I have a story time for you guys that I really think you'll enjoy, because I think most of you guys enjoy games, at least to a little bit. I know at least I enjoy Minecraft, as you're seeing in the background. And today's story takes place back when I was in 5th grade and I went to a summer camp. And one of my friends at the camp really liked this girl, and this girl basically said no to him and said that I said no to you because you play games and I hate gamers and gamers are disgusting. That's basically what she told him. But at the end of the story, there's a pretty crazy twist that really does make the whole thing worth listening to, so I do hope you guys enjoy. And if you don't want to be called disgusting by your crush, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, because you won't see my stories otherwise. And also leave a like on the video, as I'm feeling generous today and will give you nothing in return if you do so. And yeah, let's hop right into the story. So as I said a little bit in the beginning of the video, I went to this summer camp for 2 weeks when I was in 5th grade. And so I got there and I didn't really know anyone there. And in the very beginning of the summer camp, there was a lot of icebreaker activities. At this time in 5th grade, as you guys might know from some of my other story times, I was a big fan of Minecraft. I kind of didn't really play it that much in like the beginning of high school, but definitely like 5th grade, 6th grade, I was a big fan of it. And a lot of my school friends and I would spend a lot of time talking about it. We would play it. It was really just a really good time, just a fun time. Also, my friend was a big fan of Mega Walls at the time, if you remember that game. That has a lot of memories to me. Anyways, though, I'm at this camp, right, and I don't know anyone, and there's an icebreaker activity. Basically, the icebreaker activity goes along the lines of basically someone can basically say something that they like or they really like,
And then basically anyone else who like also enjoys that subject matter can like come to the middle and like, you know, talk to the people and like hang out with them or whatever. So the game was played a little bit, and there was some kind of like generic stuff like, I like ice cream, I like dogs. And it's like, yeah, I like ice cream, I like dogs. And I went to the center for those, but because it was so like broad and generic, like half the, like if not more than half the people went to the center, so it wasn't super helpful. Basically, then this one guy comes to the center and he basically says that he really likes Minecraft. And now this one was a bit more specific, and while Minecraft was super popular at the time, it was really only like 4 to 5 guys who went to the center, and I was one of the 4 to 5 guys. And because this was kind of a smaller group of people, the thing is, those actually became my friends during the 2 weeks at camp. I'm actually still somewhat in contact with like a few of them. But basically, those 4 to 5 guys are the kind of the main friends I have at the camp. And one of them is one of the main protagonists at the camp as well. And his name is Will. So my other, like, you know, the other 4, or I think it was like, yeah, the other 3 friends at that time, because there was like 5 people in the center. One of them was me, one of them was Will. The other 3 friends, they still play a role in the story, but like not big enough that I should give them a name and then get confused. So if they say something, I'll just say one of my friends said, and this assume it's not me or Will who said that. So we kind of form a little friend group, and it's not like a clique or anything. If anyone wanted to be friends with us, they could, but you know, we kind of like, we started talking about Minecraft. We started talking about like our favorite things to do, if there are any servers we like to play on, like basically our thoughts of what they should add, all that. Is Hero Brian real, you know, all that good stuff, man. But anyways, right, so the day goes on, and like there's a nighttime activity, and we're just still sticking together. And right, so you know, we've kind of formed a friend group, and we know we really like Minecraft, but we're also kind of known as like the group of kids that went to the center who said that they really liked Minecraft. I'm not saying that like everyone else like didn't like it, but we were like the five of us. We were like the 5 kids that were like known to be the kids who liked Minecraft, because we all went to the center, and then afterwards everyone always saw us together. So that was kind of a reputation, which was very fair, if I'm going to be honest, because that's like all we talked about, man. That's kind of all we talked about. Anyways, so a couple days into the 2-week-long camp, my friend Will comes back to us and tells us about this girl who he met at one of these kind of like camp activities. And this girl's name, let's just call her Sarah, right? So, you know, Will basically was like, you know, he was at one of these activities, and we weren't there because during the day, you know, they kind of choose what you do half the time, like for the activities. Some activities you just kind of can go to with your friends, but a lot of these activities, right, you kind of have to go to with like, you're assigned them, and it's kind of whoever you meet, which is good because if you don't really have like a group of friends there, it's always an opportunity to meet people. So it makes a lot of sense, right? But anyways, while he was there was this new girl there. Her name was Sarah, and he was like, yo, I really like this girl. So obviously we were super supportive, and we're like, okay, man, you're totally going to get Sarah. Don't even think about it. Like, we got you. Like, we'll come up with something. Like, we got your back on this. And it was kind of fun, man. Like, it's always fun when you're like, especially like back when you're a little kid, your friend had a crush on someone. You're like, ooh, right. And then you're like, okay, let's come up with a plan, guys. And then you make it all serious for no reason. We're like, okay, time for a top secret meeting, right? So we all like, you know, got into like, you know, we had to like check the room. We had to go in there. We got like a whiteboard. We're like, all right, what's the plan? Basically, we sat down and we decided that the best course of action would be that Will would go and talk to her the next day, because there were kind of like free period like times. There's like lunch, and then there was kind of like a recess type thing where basically you could go hang out with whoever, right? And so even if he didn't get her in another one of these activities, because that was kind of like randomly selected and we didn't want to play the odds game, especially since we had such limited time at this point, and we just didn't have enough time to like really like, we couldn't bet on that. Basically, we wanted him to go up and talk to her one more time, and then after that basically admit how he feels and ask if she wants to do something after camp, because this camp was kind of held locally. It wasn't an overnight camp, it wasn't a sleepaway camp, and basically at the end of the day, like, you went home, so maybe they could go see a movie or something. But basically, we wanted him to talk to her one more time, and then kind of, you know, pull the trigger and see what we can do, right? So the next day, Will eventually gets the courage to talk to her, and it's recess period, so we don't all go up to talk to her with him, but we're like far enough away that we're obviously like, well, we didn't think was obvious. In retrospect, we were kind of looking, laughing, and maybe we were pointing, so maybe it was a little obvious, right? But but at the time we thought we were far enough away that like she wouldn't notice that we were watching, and we were basically looking at what was happening, and from our perspective, it looked like it was going really well because Will was talking to her and she didn't like, I don't know, run away. I guess the fact that she responded was like a win enough for us, which I don't know what that says, but that definitely hey, she responded to him. That was good enough for us. We were like, okay, he's got this in the bag. So the next day rolls around and we're like, okay, bro, okay, Will, it's finally the day. All you got to do is ask her out on a date to the movies. Like, how could it go wrong? You guys spoke once. That has to be good enough. Of course, 5th grade logic, but whatever, man. It was what it was. So anyways, right, so we're outside at recess, and we don't want to, like, crowd him. So we do the same thing. We stand away far enough that, like, we can kind of see what's going on, but we can't actually hear what's going on. And we see Will go up to her. We see him get, her attention. We see him say something. And then we see Sarah's face, and it looks kind of amused. And I was like, okay, amused is better than angry or crying, but amused isn't exactly what we're looking for here, you know what I mean? So Will looks a little defeated, and we're like, okay, this can't be good. So he comes back, and basically we're like, okay, dude, what happened? And he just looks at us all defeated like, I don't really want to talk about it. So you already knew, like, right away that it wasn't going to be good. So basically, we didn't ask Will about it for a second, but by the end of the day, before we left, he was like, guys, okay, let's talk about what happened. I think you guys at least deserve to know. Just TLDR didn't go well, so just be heads up for that. So we're like, oh man, we're sorry about that. But then he told us the details, bro. Goes on to explain that Sarah said, no, I will not go on a date with you. I don't want to go on a date with someone who's a gamer like you. You're known as one of the Minecraft kids, and I would never be caught going out with someone who is one of the Minecraft kids, so no. Basically being extra rude about it, basically saying that, like, because he played Minecraft, because he played games, she would never go out with him, basically. This sounds a little cruel and petty, but remember, this was 5th grade. Even for 5th grade, to be fair, this was cruel and petty, but remember, it kind of not expected, but, like, this isn't, like, high school or college. This is still middle school. But at the same time, man, even we thought this was a little mean back in the day. You might be thinking, wow, this is kind of a sad story. Let me just say that, it gets a lot better. There's a pretty big twist. But before I get into the twist, if you made it this far into the video, comment door down below, like the thing that you enter a building with, like a door. I just want to see how many people made it this far into the video, as I really do appreciate people watching my videos all the way. So basically, the next day rolls around, and somehow we figure out that Sarah has a thing for this other guy at this camp named PJ. I think I was telling one of my other friends there who was, like, friends with Sarah about the whole thing that went down, and she basically explained, she said, oh, that's so tough, like, I don't know why she was mean about it. Then she also said something about how Sarah had a thing for PJ so that Will shouldn't feel bad because, she probably wasn't going to go out with him, video games or not. And I was like, okay, that's good to know. And funny enough, so the day goes on and we're actually in a group. And this is one of those kind of like group activities where you're assigned. And we got pretty lucky. All my friends and I were in the same group. And then also PJ was in the same group. So we're talking to PJ, and he's actually a pretty cool guy. And I don't really explain to Will that, Sarah has a thing for him since, like, I just learned it, and we just met the guy, and I was like, he seems cool enough, right? Like, and I didn't want to open, like, old wounds or anything. So I was just like, okay, like, whatever. I told him eventually, but in the beginning it was just like we were just chilling with them. It was a good time. And eventually the topic of, like, Minecraft comes up, and PJ admits that he actually is also a pretty big fan. I don't want to say admits, man. He was proud about it. He enjoyed it, right? The only person who really seemed it to be, like, something you'd want to admit would be Sarah, bro. She's the only person who really thought it as something as, like, shameful or something. I don't even know. But anyways, PJ admits that, he also plays Minecraft. So, we talk about that, and we actually kind of bond over that, man. I'm going to be honest. Like, the thing is, like, he actually kind of joined our group afterwards. This was about a week in, so we didn't have a ton of time with him, but it was still kind of nice, right? So the next couple of days, okay, so we had a weekend break, and we talked to him a little bit over that. And then when we came back the next week, we hung out the first couple days together. And the next week, he was kind of like now part of our group or whatever, because we all kind of enjoyed Minecraft, right? And just so you know, over the weekend, I did tell Will, I'm like, hey, by the way, I found out that Sarah, also likes this PJ guy, so just be aware. I hope it doesn't matter. And he said, yeah, no, it really doesn't matter at all. He was kind of over the whole Sarah thing anyways. I mean, we were just at camp. We were in 5th grade. Minecraft was obviously much more important to us at the time. So we're all sitting at lunch one day, and I see Sarah walking up to the table that we're sitting with, and it's me, my friends, Will is there, and PJ, who is now one of our buddies too. He's also sitting at the lunch table, and he was kind of facing behind her, so he didn't really see her coming, and I was just thinking to myself, okay, man, this is going to be interesting. What's about to go down? So Sarah came up to PJ, and, apparently they've been talking a little bit throughout the last week or so. PJ wasn't aware of the whole Will thing, which we just didn't think was necessary. Like, at this point, he was over it. We were over it. It would have just made drama. But Sarah had been talking to PJ for a little bit, and then Sarah, while just kind of standing there, after a little bit of small talk, was like, while Will was there, she knew Will was there, so this was a little bit extra cruel just because of that fact, but Sarah basically goes to PJ and says, hey, do you want to maybe go to the movies tonight? And it was a Wednesday. And then PJ looks at her and says, sorry, I got plans. I'm actually going back and playing Minecraft with these guys. Sarah was like, okay, and left, and while we didn't explain to PJ why that was probably probably the best, most incredible thing he could have ever done, and why Will probably loved him 10x times as much as he did before. We couldn't explain it to him, but bro, I was looking at Will's face after that. He was just sitting there, and he was just smiling because this girl basically rejected him because, oh no, he played Minecraft. And then all of a sudden, the guy of her dreams rejects her to go play Minecraft with Will. And it was a good way to end the camp. And we had no more drama for the rest of the camp. We had a good last couple days together, and some of us even still talk to this day, which is pretty cool. Anyways, guys, if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to support the channel, all you got to do is watch another one of my videos. There's a chance that you'll see some videos on screen right now, and if not, just go ahead and click on my channel. But also feel free, if you want to watch more storytime videos, to click the storytime playlist on screen. And if you don't see it for some reason, storytime playlist will also be linked in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. I really do appreciate it. Leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, peace. How's it going, everyone? Today we got a story time of a Gen Z kid who ruins his life over a TikTok video. Sometimes people in Gen Z, and I know that's my generation, and I know that's some of your generation, they just want to become famous so incredibly bad that they will risk literally everything just to obtain fame. It's a tough sight, and you do hate to see it. But this is a pretty crazy story, and I know you'll enjoy it. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, and let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Ben. So anyways, right, there's a kid in Ben's class who we're going to call the Gen Z kid. And every single time I get people in my comment section being like, oh, just because someone's in a generation doesn't mean blah, blah, blah. Guys, I know, guys, I know. When I say Gen Z kid, I simply mean someone who spends their entire day canceling people on Twitter. For example, Mr. Beast being nice, nah, canceled, right? Or someone who spends 25 hours a day on TikTok, and someone who gets all of their information, opinions, news, life advice, like spends every second of their day and consumes all their information from TikTok. Those are Gen Z kids. And also Gen Z kids tend to really want like fame at any cost. Like they just see clout and they're just like, oh yeah, baby, let's get some of that. So today is a story of when the strive, the wanting of clout destroyed this Gen Z kid's life. So anyways, there's a kid in Ben's class, as I said, who we're going to call the Gen Z kid. And this kid had been desperately trying to blow up on TikTok for the longest time. Speaking of TikTok, you should follow my TikTok at connorpugs. I got like 11K on there. Help me get to 20K. I don't know. Anyways, though, so this kid had been posting like 5 times a day, literally everything. He would do the TikTok, trend dances, whatever. He would do like bottle flip challenge. Bro, 2017 is calling. Like it wants its trend back. That's all I'm trying to say. But
But yeah, this kid would literally be doing anything to try and become famous online. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, by the way. Like, I was grinding on YouTube for the longest time. Like, I probably made 500 videos before I even got like 20,000 subs. So like, nothing wrong with it at all. Like, that's totally fine. However, this kid was like super obnoxious about it too. Bro would like do quote unquote prank videos where he would just be really annoying. Like, you know, like back in the day, I don't know if you guys were around for like the YouTube 2015, 2016, like prank era where people would just be menaces to society. And it's like, it's just a prank, bro. It's like, nah, dude, it's not just a prank. At this point, it's mad serious. Like, dudes would actually go out and, like, do really bad stuff. And then when the other person would understandably start to retaliate because, I don't know, something bad just happened, guy with the camera would come out and be like, dude, it's just a prank. Don't get mad at us. It's like, no, dude, you still did it. It doesn't matter if it's a prank or not. And then, like, it kind of became a meme, like, it's just a prank is like a cop-out. Anyways, though, so this kid had been grinding for the longest time trying to become successful. Yeah, so anyways, though, sometimes people on the internet will, instead of taking the long route of making content that maybe doesn't get a lot of views, but being like, I know someone will like this and just sticking with it and just making improvements and really just learning their craft over time, some people will go out and do really viral stunts that are just not really good. Example is like back in the day when people would like lick ice cream and put it back in the store, which is very illegal for many reasons, and they go viral for that reason. First of all, that fame is super fleeting, but also second of all, dude, stupid. You just film yourself committing a crime on camera, bro. Like, that's ridiculous. Anyways, though, so one day, you know, the subscriber Ben was sitting at lunch, and the Gen Z kid, who everyone kind of didn't like because of how kind of like cringe and annoying he would be. Doesn't mean he's necessarily a bad person, but he'd be like, I don't know, like throw a banana at someone and be like, dude, you just got pranked, bro. You just got pranked. And everyone be like, oh my God, this kid again. Yeah, but anyways, right, sure enough, this kid came up to Ben and he sat down next to Ben. And Ben's like, what's up, man? And this guy's like, dude, I know I say this all the time, but you're not going to believe the TikTok I just made. And so Ben is like, okay, and pulls up the page. And sure enough, he pulls up the Gen Z kid's TikTok. And the Gen Z kid was not kidding. Ben could not believe the TikTok he just made. But not because it was, oh my God, this is so creative, so funny. No, it was just really bad. Yeah, so you guys might be really curious about what the TikTok is. So basically, right, and once again, I have to do the little disclaimer. I hope it's obvious to you guys, but by telling you these stories, I'm not encouraging you to do these things. In fact, normally, when I tell these stories, they're from the perspective of us collectively clowning on the person doing these things. So I would personally hope that you would not go ahead and try and emulate this stuff, but whatever. Sure, just had to get that disclaimer out of the way. So the TikTok video was of the Gen Z kid hidden in the girls' locker room. Yeah, I'm gonna let that sink in for a second. Dude was recording himself in the girls' locker room. Now, okay, you guys might be thinking, well, Connor, relax. Like, who cares? Like, no one's in there. No. This was like mid-gym session, or not mid-gym session, but this was like, they were in there too, if you're catching my drift, right? So immediately Ben's like, dude. First of all, he's like, dude. And he's like, dude, like, you actually need to take this down. Like, this is not good. And the Gen Z kid was like, bro, I normally get 5 views in 30 minutes. I'm already up to 100 views in 30 minutes. Bro, this is going to be my ticket to TikTok fame. And Ben's like, no, this is going to be a ticket to getting suspended and expelled, bro. And let me just say that Gen Z kid probably should listen to Ben here. Probably should have listened to Ben. But hey, man, you guys are just going to see how this story unfolds. Yeah, so sure enough, right, the subscriber is just looking at the Gen Z kid. And it's like, man, I don't think you understand. Like, you know, you can't be in the girls' bathroom, like locker room, and obviously like recording yourself and like, okay, so he wasn't like full on recording them. However, like they were kind of in sight. Like he was very clearly hiding in like, you know, one of the lockers or whatever. And like you could see, because you know in the lockers how there's like grates or whatever, you can look through. You could basically get a view through the grates. And I don't know if there's anything like really, really bad that you could see through these grates. Like, I wasn't told. By the way, these stories are all submitted by you guys, and if you have a story that you want to submit to me, you can do so by going to my Instagram, which is connorpugs, following me on there, and then sending me a DM message. Just message me on there. Tell me the whole story, and that's where I collect them. Anyways, though, the subscriber who submitted this on Instagram wasn't totally sure. He didn't get a close look at the video because he's not trying to be peeping, right? But all he knows is this is not good. And you guys might be thinking, well, doesn't this like very clearly break community guidelines? Yes, TikTok, in theory, should take this down. But you guys got to realize that there's so much content being uploaded to TikTok every single day that, you know, the AI and like the algorithms that will automatically detect stuff is pretty good. So you can't be uploading like, I don't even want to say it right. This is a family-friendly, PG, clean, ABC 123 balloons kid family channel, right? But what I'm trying to say is like you can't be super blatant. But if there's something like this where it's like kind of questionable, sometimes the algorithm won't even pick it up and stuff can slip through the cracks like this. Yeah, so sure enough, right, word spread really, really quickly. Not even word spread, but views started to pile up on these things. Because the thing is, a lot of times when something sus like this happens on TikTok, it'll actually go really viral because I don't know how else to explain it besides probably a lot of like the guys were like taking an extra look at this like video. They were giving it a lot of watch time. They were giving crazy session duration and engagement to this video, which normally the algorithm's like, oh, this must be a really funny or creative post, not a, uh-oh, spaghetti-o, let's get this off our platform type post. So at this point, right, the Gen Z kid was being told by Ben, you need to take this down. You're probably already screwed, bro. But if you want to minimize the damage or the risk of you getting screwed, you need to take this down right now. But you need to understand the mindset of the Gen Z kid. The Gen Z kid, this is his first opportunity, his first taste of potentially, right, potentially getting, you know, the clout he believes that he deserves. So of course the Gen Z kid's not going to be like, oh yeah, let me go and take this down. I'm finally blown up. He's blown up for the wrong reasons though. But this video, in about of a span of an hour, racked up 10,000 views on TikTok, which, look, you can kind of like post a random video and get 10,000 views on TikTok. Like, I'm not going to lie, like TikTok views are definitely not as impressive. However, 10,000 views is 10,000 views. And especially for this kid who would like basically throw a party if he got 100 views on a TikTok, which like I'm not view shaming anyone, but in the grand scheme of things, like let's be real here. So yeah, this kid was not about to take down this video. So Ben obviously tried to distance himself. He's like, all right, man, well, you choose to do what you want to do. But Ben saw as just other like random guys at the school started like going up to like the Gen Z kid. The Gen Z kid didn't even really need to like self-promote the fact that he snuck into the girls' locker room and hid in the lockers. He didn't even really need to like heavily self-promote that. He just needed to kind of exist for a little bit. He just needed the video to go up and like get the natural traction it was going to get in the first place. And like guys were coming up like, dude, I saw the video. Like, you're crazy for that, bro. Like, you're so crazy. Like, you're ridiculous for that, man. Like, dude, like, that's so valid of you. When they were really just like, yeah, you're crazy for that equals ha 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 lol. You're screwed, partner. Kind of like, you're kind of messing up here, bud. But anyways, right, so word started to spread really quickly because like the video was naturally being sent to like the home pages of people who went to this school. Because some people who went to the school already followed the TikTok kid, the Gen Z kid. So that like that video would immediately appear on their For You page. And then since people like followed each other, you know, a lot of algorithms kind of have like profiles of people and they will recommend videos that people of similar profiles will be interested in. That's why like if you guys watch Am I the Jerk or Tag Swag, you might have been recommended my video and vice versa because they're like, oh, people like story videos. Let me recommend another channel that a lot of people like story videos also watch. This is also true for if you're friends with people more on social media sites, less like YouTube, which is more just pure content. But in social media sites, it's kind of like if your friend follows and engages with a page or a photo or whatever, you're more likely to see it. So basically the whole school got this video shot onto their For You page within the matter of like an hour and a half. And that's when a big group, and Ben was walking by as like the Gen Z kid was basically basking in the glory of his crime, right? Which is like what I find so funny is like when these social media guys who commit crimes and go on TV. I'm like, yo, relax, bro. You're basking in the glory of your crime. Anyways, though, so as he was kind of basking in the glory, as some guys were coming up to him like, dude, that was so savage of you, right? A big group of angry-looking girls walks up to the Gen Z kid. And the Gen Z kid, when he sees this, his little smile on his face, his little like, I'm famous, I'm crazy, I'm cool smirk completely gets wiped away. If you made it this far into the video, comment TikTok down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. I'll try and heart as many comments as I can to say TikTok down below. And also, if you want to submit a story, make sure to go to my Instagram at connorpugs and follow me, then DM me there. If you use Spotify, these stories are on Spotify as well. And finally, while we're on the topic of TikTok, I'm trying to post my shorts on there as well. If you want to follow me on TikTok at connorpugs, if you just happen to use it. If you don't, I actually got some respect for you. I only have it downloaded because I'm trying to post on there. But if you do happen to use it, if you want to give me a follow in there, try and boost me to some new people, that'd be pretty sweet. Anyways, let's get back to it and see what happens next. Yeah, so anyways, right, the Gen Z kid gets confronted, and Ben, the subscriber, like he wasn't there, but he was passing by, so he was able to get basically the TLDR of what happened, right? What happened is they were all like freaking out at the Gen Z kid, basically saying how creepy and weird it was that he was in there in the first place, but then how it was a total like breach of their privacy for him to go in and like start recording stuff. Both two super valid statements, guys. Please do not do any of that nonsense. I hope we are all collectively clowning on the Gen Z kid for wanting clout that badly. Anyways, though, so yeah, sure enough, the subscriber Ben kind of just like walks along. He's like, I'm not trying to be associated. I'm not trying to be a part of this. And here's where things escalate even further. So parents are starting to learn about this video, right? Because like, I don't know, some like daughter who got caught on the recording, bad situation, right? Must have forwarded to their parents being like, look at this kid in my class, like deal with this. And the parents probably spread around the existence of the video, not trying to look at the video, right? It's privacy, whatever. And yeah, a bunch of them started contacting the school. School's getting like their phones are blowing up, whatever. So pretty shortly after, a teacher pulls the Gen Z kid aside. He goes immediately to the principal's office. It's a huge meeting, a huge whatever. So Ben tells me that the video was down shortly after. He does not know if the video got taken down for community guidelines or the video was taken down by the Gen Z kid as he was instructed.